Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Jim. Jim Tells You. Going to go over some news of the day. I hope everyone had a nice weekend. Is going to enjoy the Memorial Day weekend and, have a little fun, do a little talking about the news and stuff. I got a couple guests tonight. They're going to come in. We're going to talk. Please feel free to engage in the chat and let us know what you think so we can do some back and forth and kind of make this fun for everybody. My first guest is a man known to many. His name is Uncapped Turtle. Celebrite. How you doing tonight?
Celebrite. It's celebrity.
Celebrity. I don't know. I thought you were like going with the, you do the police inspections on the phone. Celebrite. You're an expert on doing police downloads on phones.
No, I'm boring, but not that boring. Okay. I'm all dressed up because it's a news show, Jim.
It's a news show. It is. We're doing news. See, I got a collared shirt on and everything. See?
Right.
We got this other guy. He's all dressed up too. He's a drinking glass.
That's right. That's what you need. You need a drinking glass in your life.
Mm-hmm. So, what's this new book you have from Imprint?
I know I can't talk about it yet. I mean, the Rippaverse has their secrets. Imprint has their secrets. We can't talk.
Don't
about
NDA yourself.
I know. Yep.
Okay. Well, I figure we'll start off with an easy topic tonight. We have a story. We talk a lot on this channel about immigration. Oh, here we go. Now we got Baron Trump's here.
What up,
Mr. Trump?
What's going on, fellas?
Wait a second. He's got something in his signature that looks like my signature. What you took that word from me? Come on, say
you're supporting a good grassroots indie collective called Imprint.
Okay.
I'm currently the CEO and owner of, with a lady by the name of Preston Moore, a gentleman by the name of Ruby King, Andrew Rowland's involved with it, and then Samurai Snowman.
So, there you go.
Richard Embry also. I keep forgetting about him. We got Richard Embry, and then we've got Fusebox is also going to be a writer for us. So it's a little thing that we're trying to put together and do.
Just a little thing. You're already forgetting about people. Sad.
But it's already it's moved so fast, Uncap, that it's like I've got to write a list of everything that we're doing. I mean, it went from I'm just going to promote these people and try to push these people to all of a sudden I've got 4 books that I'm working on. So it's crazy.
Have you been growing shoulder hair? I hear working on that many books that shoulder hair.
I was, and I said, you know what? I'm going to move differently, and I shaved my shoulders just yesterday.
Nice.
That's good to know.
For summer.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
So the first story of the evening, it's a one of those ones that we on this channel we kind of get into a lot of immigration because it's in the news a lot, all this immigration stuff. But
Yeah.
it says FBI arrests 2 Pakistani men for an immigration fraud scheme in Texas. The FBI has arrested 2 men from Pakistan living in Texas who are accused of operating an immigration scheme that sold fraudulent visa applications. Abdul Hadi Murshi and Mohammed Salman Nasser, originally from Pakistan, have been accused of submitting fraudulent applications for visas and for adjustments of status to unlawfully enter and remain in the country. Both men were arrested in Texas and faced multiple federal charges, including conspiracy to defraud the United States, visa fraud, money laundering conspiracy, conspiracy under the Racketeer Influence RICO Act. The pair were also charged with unlawfully obtaining and attempting to attain U.S. citizenship. Also, these were guys that were in the country trying to get fraudulent citizenship and then trying to bring more people in.
Wow, that's a big story.
Yeah.
Nice. Anyway. Major arrests out of Dallas. FBI Director Cass Patel posted on X. Abdul and Muhammad, 2 individuals out of Texas. Why are they always named Abdul and Muhammad? Oversaw the operated a criminal enterprise circumventing American immigration laws and selling fraudulent visa applications. FBI arrested them. And the indictment says they exploited the EB2 and the EB3 and H1B visa programs. Well, H1, I'm not really even sure what. Does anyone know what EB2 and EB3 are?
I've only
Those
ever.
are educational ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the H1B is the people where they let them come in because they have a specific job that we need them to do
Right.
or whatever. Like supposedly, like chef,
Like cashier at a 7-Eleven.
yeah, cashier at a 7-Eleven. The jobs that Americans can't do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it blew my mind when I learned how many of those there were.
Quite a few.
It's devastated my industry for years, but I mean, because when you bring somebody on an H-1B, you've got that threat of if I want to, I'll just deport you by firing you. So, they've got so much leverage over them. It's ridiculous, and they work for cheaper. So, and in my industry, there's plenty of people that could do that job, but the job isn't being made available because you don't have that leverage over somebody who's here as a citizen.
Yeah. So it seems that this was like a pretty big scheme that they were involved in. They would get fraudulent labor certificates, and then they would submit petitions to get the people's citizenship and immigration, green cards and everything. So it was like a really streamlined program, it seems.
Does it have anything about the numbers?
It doesn't say anything about the numbers. Let's see. Okay, here's the statement from the federal government. 2 Texas residents operating a visa racket indicted for visa fraud. Just a fraud with 3935. Doesn't really say. It just says they face each 20 years in prison. So I would think it had to have been more than one. I mean, could they call it really a scheme and a RICO? It's got to be quite a few, right?
At least ongoing or something.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be at least 3 because there was 3 different visa programs being exploited.
Yes.
But I guarantee it's more than 3.
Well, there's one guy named Bob. He was actually on visa from all these different places at the same time.
Yeah. Plus, you're right. For a RICO, it has to be an ongoing criminal conspiracy.
Yeah.
So it can't be something that they stopped. So.
Yeah,
Hey, Patrick Seven, nice to see you. Thanks for stopping by. So, what do you guys think this is
for being late?
You guys think this is a very widespread thing that goes on?
It's that thing that never happens. It keeps happening again and again.
I mean, it's widespread. I'm just like, they never do anything about it. They catch one guy here, one guy there, and then you've got people who actually, could do good for this country and should possibly be here that want to be here, and those people just can't get in. It's like, Jesus, man, can we figure this situation out already? It's been how long?
Forever.
Go ahead.
No, I'm answering his question.
Yeah, for 100 years or more, we've been really having a lot of immigration. So
Well, I think part of the problem too is we changed from an immigration system of bringing bringing in people that could actually, that could add to the country, basically, or that would be a net positive to like familial. Didn't it change in the '60s, or they did stuff where it was basically, anyone who had a family tie, they could, once one person got here, you could bring more and more. And I don't know. I mean, I think everybody in this panel is old enough to remember in the '80s and '90s all the how the 7-Elevens and the Dunkin' Donuts and the different places would just go from one family member to another family member, and they would take advantage of the 7-year tax-free holiday. I'm not even sure if that's still in place, where when you first came in, they would give you like 7 years tax-free.
Jesus Christ, man.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it was. I mean, even Joe Biden knew about it. He talked about it all the time, about how you can't go anywhere 7-Eleven without talking to an Indian or a Pakistani.
I mean, you can't hardly do that nowadays, even in places where you don't have a lot of immigrants. I mean, our little town that I live in had 0 immigrant gas stations up until like this past year, and now all of them but one are owned by immigrants. So
yeah, I would like to know too. I'd like to find out if that's still a policy where they get like they come in and then they say they're going to open up, like they get, because they want business. They say it's a business, they're coming in to run a business, and then they give them a tax holiday for the business, and then they just keep passing it to the family. Different family member comes in and they pass it to them,
and it never expires. Yeah, just keeps going
because it's a different business.
Yeah,
technically on paper.
That's interesting.
On paper,
I should have pulled that down when we were talking.
Yeah, I wasn't going for that, but yeah.
You're learning. You're learning, Jim. It's all right, buddy. We'll learn. We'll get you there.
I'm trying. I'm doing my best. Like I
Thanks,
said,
Obama.
Yeah. Oof, man. Don't even get me started on Obama. So, do you guys think we're going to get immigration under control, or do you think it's just it's going to just be a small blip?
I'm gonna be a little bit. I'm gonna push back a little bit on Uncap there. I think eventually we'll have to. I think you're seeing generations. Like my nephews, both of my nephews are in their. Well, I am forgetting how many nephews I have. I have 3 nephews. They're all in their either early or mid 20s, and every one of them are pretty based. And some of them grew up in New York. Some of them grew up down here or whatever. And they're all pretty based. They're all sort of seeing the writing on the wall. And hopefully by their generation, they say, "Hey, enough's enough. Let's fix it." The problem is, like, you always got to boil it down to where is there money to be made on this immigration stuff? And if there is, it's going to be a long, hard slog to solve.
Well, there is, and then there's a concerted effort, not just here but globally, to. I mean, it expands. I mean, there is a concerted effort globally to reduce, the concept of differences between nations. And
They don't want you to have it up.
So, and this is their best tool for it. If they can dilute and make everywhere, roughly the same.
Yeah.
They
don't want you to have they don't want you to have a homogenous society anymore. They want you to.
They want it to be homogenous, just homogenous.
Just very homogenous. Yeah.
Right.
Imagine that. We want to bring you down to the lowest common denominator. So if you think some country is a shithole, that shithole is going to be the world. So let's import the shithole.
Well, that's because they can control those people, right? If you got free thinking people, and I'm not trying to like go too wild with this concept, but if you got free thinking people that will push back and not do what Big Daddy government or whoever says, well, then those people need to be those numbers need to be lowered. Simple as, and that's what they're doing.
By doing this, they know they increase the domestic strife and the conflicts between groups, and if groups are fighting each other, they don't get together and fight the people that are pulling the strings and setting up the situation.
Yeah, it's almost like doing that with races, because as long as there's race wars or something going on, they're not going to be focusing on us.
It's almost like a version of planned obsolescence, right?
How so?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Expand on that.
they're sitting there trying to make everything useless and not worth it. Making everybody they're keeping you from they're keeping the people that actually would do something about it down because they're trying to keep us fighting them, right? They don't want you to pay attention to the man behind the curtain, pretty much.
Right.
Happy people don't revolt also. And
yeah, that's the other thing too. Like
the places they're doing this, they're trying to make sure that there are lots of unhappy people so they can get that revolt.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
you guys
insane.
brought up that they don't want us to have a homogenous society, and I would just push back slightly on that. They don't want us to have us to have a homogenous society.
I wasn't going to
go. Perfectly fine. They're perfectly fine with this homogenous society.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah. This whole kill the Boer and the Marxists.
Yeah, this thing's really starting
to song. There's no difference between that and try this in a small town. It's totally the same.
Yeah,
they're really starting to ramp this South Africa stuff up too. Like I'm noticing it more and more and more in my feed. And
hi, Steve.
Something's gonna happen. I'm pretty sure.
Mm.
Yeah, there was also a thing I saw that I didn't mention it, but
those of us of a certain age were raised that South Africa was always this horrible nation, and apartheid had all these horrible things, and that there was this peaceful protester named Nelson Mandela who was in prison for speaking out against it. I didn't know that speaking out included inventing necklacing.
Yes, definitely. I mean, his wife was notorious. Winnie Mandela. While Nelson Mandela was in prison, Winnie Mandela was running around necklacing the populace, and not the.
And that doesn't mean putting an ad in a comic book to buy their junk jewelry. That means putting a tire around somebody's neck, filling it with gasoline, and lighting it on fire.
Yes. Yes, this is.
But I got to be careful on that subject because we're talking news tonight, not conspiracies. We're going to end up going down.
This isn't a conspiracy. This is
no. We're gonna go down the Mandela effect rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, we'll be talking about sunspots.
Yeah. I mean, this was
solar flares. Good God, who would talk about that?
And this wasn't even racial per se when this was happening.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing this to other black people in Africa, other black Africans.
Anybody
the
that
vast majority.
They're Marxists.
Yeah. Anybody that
and
wasn't
so
a
anybody
Marxist.
that didn't that didn't subscribe to their exact thought line.
Yeah, I'm sure if they had a bunch of tires and gasoline during the Spanish Civil War, that they would have probably did the same stuff as this, and they do actually, if I'm not mistaken, they do stuff like this in South America a lot of times, but usually it's cartels doing it just like as a statement.
Right, but it grew from here. That's the group that invented it. At least that's who's credited with it.
So we have another story that is topical to the news, which I don't know if anyone's been paying. Oh, I forgot. Anyone here follow Duck Dynasty?
Used to, yeah.
Phil Robertson passed away today.
No shit.
Yeah.
Announced it about 2 hours ago.
Oh no.
Yeah, so,
really?
What?
Old age. He was 79.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's wild, man.
I think he's been ill for a while.
That's what I was about to say, because he's normally pretty healthy. If you ever get a chance, I don't know if anybody around here is religious or not. Even if you're not, if you ever get a chance, read his autobiography and read his other books. They're really, really, really good.
Yeah.
I've read all the Duck Dynasty books. They're I don't know, man. Their story to me was really inspiring. Oh shoot, he had Alzheimer's.
Okay, did he?
Yeah, that's what I'm pulling up right now. I'm trying to play Jamie. So yeah, Duck Dynasty star Phil Robertson dies at 79 following Alzheimer's diagnosis. So
Well, I mean, that could be a diagnosis, and he said, "Hell no," and he died of other reasons, or you
you
don't
normally don't
die of Alzheimer's. You die, something else. But
you don't normally die from Alzheimer's. The problem is though, so my uncle, for example, the stuff I just went through, the reason why they gave him a year minimum to live, but the reason why he didn't make it that long was he choked on his breakfast one day in the hospital. And what happens is when you get stuck in the bed, get put on the ventilator. Well, now you've got to start rehabbing and getting physical therapy after a couple weeks or so. And
yeah.
if you can't outpace the dementia to be able to take the instructions from a physical therapist, well, now you're just bedridden and you're going to be on you know uh, medical machinery to keep you alive very quickly. So it's sort of
When the disease advances, you
yeah
get to a point where it causes there's physical attributes to it as well.
yeah
I
yeah
think we all saw that over the last
And
4
then-
years with the president we had.
yeah. So the
Um,
problem with that is like can you outpace the dementia and have somebody take instructions versus them actually rehabbing and getting back to some semblance of life while their brain is slowly rotting from the inside. So
Right. The most common cause of death among Alzheimer's patients is what they call aspiration pneumonia. Which
that's
is
exactly
because
what
they get to the
yeah.
point where they have trouble eating, swallowing. You ever swallow and get it down the wrong pipe?
Right.
From your
Yeah, that's
your
literally what
drinking
happened to
glass?
my uncle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened. He choked on a pancake and then he was aspirating and then he coded and then after that he was stuck in the bed so long it was like, well, he's on a ventilator, man. Can you rehab him with his brain the way he is quick enough for, his brain has to function to take physical therapy instructions and it just wasn't going to happen. So, that's probably what happened to Phil Robertson. I would assume something along those lines.
Somebody in the chat mentioned he'd also recently had a fall.
Yeah, Steve Hiller wrote. Yeah, recently had a
Oh
fall,
yeah,
was hospitalized, was slow to recover.
yeah. So that's probably what happened. Was that's the other thing that happens too is it affects like their walking and all this other stuff too. And he probably just they decided to pull the plug.
Yeah,
Bring on
Patrick,
Neuralink.
it's very unfortunate because as people get further and further into the Alzheimer's, it's virtually impossible for a normal person to be able to take care of them unless you can spend 24 hours a day with them and not have to do anything else. Because it's too, my grandmother had a really, really severe case of what they called sundowners, where she was pretty fine during the day when the sun was up. But as soon as the sun went down, she just went like, didn't know who anybody was, couldn't do, couldn't really
Jim, are you familiar with the 3-year Letterman?
who?
3-year Letterman on X.
No.
It's a follow that I recommend.
Yeah, but that's not Phil Robertson.
I know it's not.
Is it a joke?
And you're falling for 3-year Letterman.
Okay.
I highly recommend that you watch this post because lots of people will. He always twists the headline just a hair.
Okay.
And then
That's Pat Robertson, right?
yeah. And as you can see, his followers also.
Okay. He invented the game Duck Hunt. Okay. All right.
Yeah, you get the idea.
Okay. I get it.
Invariably, somebody famous will retweet this. And that's when the fun.
Oh yeah, they'll get caught up in it, thinking it's real. Yeah.
Yes. Or they will want to argue about how he's too stupid to know who the right person is.
Right, and he makes bank no matter what they do.
Right. So.
Well, have anybody been paying attention to what's been going on the West Coast, Seattle, Washington State? I mean, we don't even want to get California's a lost cause, but
the communist states.
The communist states, yes. So there was a Christian concert over the weekend yesterday, I think, or maybe early. I don't know if it was yesterday or today. And
this is where I got to bite my tongue, or you're going to lose a YouTube channel.
And there was a concert, and then I guess Antifa showed up and started attacking people. And
where was
politician, Seattle.
No.
And so then the mayor of Seattle had some things to say about it. Mayor of Seattle, Bruce Harrell, which was weird because I'm wondering if he's any
Why do they
relation
always
to.
look like that?
I don't know. I wonder. I
So
don't
he's
think
the guy on the
related to-
right? So
yeah, he's the guy on the
No,
left.
he's
Must
the guy
be
on the
right.
left, and
okay.
But I don't know if anyone knows who Paul Harrell was. He was big on YouTube. He was one of the big gun tubers, but I'm wondering if it's any relation. But anyway, he's from
I don't
that
think
area,
so.
Seattle, Washington. But I would think he would have. But anyway, so Bruce Harrell condemns the Christian worshipers who were attacked by Trantifa militants, calling them extreme right wing who oppose trans people's humanity. He says he will find out how a permit was approved.
I have a question for Bruce. If somebody has bulimia, is the appropriate treatment to give them syrup of Ipecac?
No, probably not.
If somebody has schizophrenia, do you treat them by telling them, "Don't worry, the voices are real"?
Ooh, that sounds like a good idea. People should adopt that. Yeah.
Thank you, Trumpinator. I appreciate it.
Wow, that's a big story.
Yeah.
It's a
So
big one that you have.
I don't know if anyone noticed, but I
well.
did put a goal in the YouTube chat today just because I was trying some stuff out, and it says the goal says that if I get 10 teal super chats during this show, I will imbibe alcohol and do a conspiracy theory stream. So
Let's not lie. You're going to do that anyway.
don't tell them.
I object just because, who thinks about teal? Teal? Really?
Well, I figured, it's $50. So
Couldn't believe
I didn't want to seem greedy when I drink any. I mean, I never drink, so this is going to be a very stretch for me to have to drink.
I can't believe you haven't gotten already. I mean, I'm doing the first face reveal ever.
I know. No, I didn't. No one knows. No one recognizes that it's you because they don't know who you are. I didn't tell them.
That's because no one knows who I am.
Exactly. See, because Jim tells them, and I didn't tell them.
Good go.
They're going to know. So yes, he says Seattle mayors condemn Christian concert as far right. A Christian rally and concert hosted by the conservative group Mayday USA. See, now Mayday USA to me sounds communist.
Mayday. Yeah.
Unless they mean like Mayday, like a pilot would use it.
Oh, Mayday. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it now. Yeah, like Mayday, we're going down. Send help. Yeah, okay. It descended into chaos after Antifa militants showed up to clash with attendees, resulting in 23 arrests. The event, branded by organizers as a "Don't Mess with Our Kids" rally, began around 2 p.m. I don't know why anyone would be opposed to.
Jim. It's hashtag "Don't Mess with Our Kids."
Oh, hashtag "Don't Mess with Our Kids." Okay, all right. Yeah, see, I'm always screwing up. But I don't know why anyone would be opposed to that theory, like "Don't mess with our kids."
Oh,
well,
gee, I wonder who
idea.
among the world would be against that. Let me think. Is it right? Is
Antifa
it
militants probably want to mess with your kids.
Yeah. Trantifa militants, especially.
Yes.
I mean, I see, because they said their attendees defended the sanctity of human life, biological gender, and freedom of religion. So that's probably why.
That's really extremist stuff
upset.
there, Dave. Jim. I mean, come on, extremist.
So here's the
crazy arrest.
video of police arresting them.
Yep, backing up.
I'm surprised Seattle's letting them arrest them.
See, now this doesn't really. This makes me think they got the B team for Antifa out there, because I remember the videos with the Antifa when the police would show up back in 2020, 2021, and there was always stuff flying, explosives.
They haven't busted them in yet.
They haven't got the real pros in there. These people are just kind of a couple of people yelling, and they're actually not fighting the cops. I haven't seen anyone fighting them. So,
Jim, have you played chess?
Yeah, these are the pawns.
Who's the first to move? These are the pawns.
Yeah.
The other reason why they brought the Antifa
Boogaloo.
B team out there, if you think about it, there's no one to fight anymore. So you don't have the Proud Boys. You don't have the what's the guys that run around with the white mask and the khakis now? those guys aren't going to show up to these events.
Oh, those you mean talking about the
Patriot
FBI?
Yeah, they're feds. But you get
The
what I'm saying.
FBI?
Yeah.
But yeah,
there wasn't
like,
one guy with like a BMI over 6 in Patriot Front. Those were all feds.
That's why they wouldn't let me join.
Yeah, it's what was I gonna say? But I don't think there's anybody out there for them to fight. And the moment that they do, Patriot Front, the moment they get another Proud Boys or somebody to really shut down and criminalize, or whatever they want to call it, that's when you'll start seeing the real fucking Antifa people show up. It's gonna happen. There's gonna be something that goes on. They're not gonna let a Trump presidency go to waste without some big tragedy, because that's all they've got. So,
well, I know why Patriot Front wasn't in Seattle right now. It's so difficult to get a U-Haul to carry the guys around because they're all rented out because people are fleeing those states.
Yeah, and those things go one way, and somebody has to drive them back. And I mean, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Here, we'll watch a little more of this video. I still got a couple more articles. Hey, Sweet Tooth, how you doing?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people arrested. Multiple Antifa militants. Maybe another one here.
Really?
Here. That kind of looked like a lady that you would see at a Fish concert, or maybe
exactly. Maybe that's
Grateful Dead.
He's the ringleader.
That's no lady.
That was no lady.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
You can never know nowadays.
Out behind the bikes. Hey, how are you? Any comments, sir? What's going on here?
We're enforcing the law. That's all we're doing. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you, sir. That's the latest from S.
Was that a
Is
man?
that hair regulation?
I don't know what that was.
It's Seattle. It's so confusing.
SPD right now, the men and women of SPD doing their job. Think about the risks they're taking right now, just trying to keep the peace here at Cal.
Risks they're taking.
Again, today started off with a
I seem to remember the SNL movie It's Pat not being.
It's
like
Pat,
this.
yes, and Pat was not. Yes, Pat was Pat. You could not say what Pat was. Pat was Pat.
Yeah,
the whole thing was nobody knew what Pat was.
Yeah,
and nobody would ask because it was like
right
verboten to ask. What
and
Pat
mostly
was.
People did not want to know. They looked at Pat and said, "Ew, don't ask."
And what was? Oh, Pat had like a boyfriend or girlfriend, and nobody was sure what the hell was that person's name.
Jim. The YouTube friendly term is partner.
Partner.
To stand with children against transgender ideology. Dozens of Antifa militants dressed up in black bloc.
Did you see that?
No, what?
Look at this.
What do we?
Look at this police officer. Those are some broad shoulders.
That is a fine specimen of police personnel there. I tell you, you can't get them much better than that. Can't get them much bigger than that. You know,
It's a handsome woman.
Yeah, that's a big girl.
You know, I've always thought, when I spent some time in a certain branch of the military, and we had people that would get too large. And one of the solutions back in the day is uniforms didn't come in that size. If you can't show up in uniform, you can't keep the job. Although she does look like she could pull me out of a car if I was in an accident.
Well, there you go.
No, what she would do is eat the car that's around you, and then and you'd still be safe. But yeah,
I'm thinking down periscope, as can't fit into the uniform
for your show.
No, I think she's probably. Well, I mean, we're assuming that it's a she. First of all,
no, that's a she.
That's a she.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a she. You can know a she by that kind of look. You say, yeah, no dude wants to actually look like that. So yeah, that's a she.
Okay, all right.
I
would never assume. I always just let I always wait for them to tell me what gender they are, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Jim
these
is
days.
very open-minded.
Yes.
In fact,
I'm very woke.
What the hell is that?
I just
why
woke up
don't
a little while
we have
ago.
our pronouns in our bios here? Come on, you don't demand pronouns of your panelists? Come on.
I never assume anything. I just take their word for it.
Mine were.
Yeah.
Stimulated as never was.
Nah, never was, never will be.
Let's see here. Any...
Fighting. Absolutely.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Melee here.
Oh, that was actually someone with a baton actually doing their job, pushing them away.
Right
Was
now.
that a cop?
It looked like it.
Brawls happening.
I
can't
saw
keep
them
track
try
of
to help that person to keep them from falling. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's what I saw.
They just
what's
won't lay
happening,
down.
what's where. This is all being live streamed. Multiple.
See, now this is the problem though, is that they used to have mounted officers, on horses, and that's how for crowd control. There's nothing better than a horse because you can move.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's nothing a crowd can do to the horse. They can't push the horse. The horse is going to go right through them. But having bicycles, I don't really see what the bicycles do.
Yeah. That's
They
true.
try to use them the same way. They don't work as well.
No.
Guys, we got a huge brawl going on. Antifa.
Huge brawl. All right. This reporter
I
guy is like really the B team of reporting.
This is we had the pendulum in 2020 where they would say it's fiery but mostly peaceful.
right.
And now we have something that really doesn't look like it's that big of a.
This guy's trying to be the next Taylor Hanson. Let him be.
Exactly. You could bring
Let him
your
cook.
family to this event and probably be fine.
Yeah. And he's made it's a huge brawl. I'm like, well, maybe a couple people
Well,
got.
I do think there's I do think there's a bit of a brawl going on. He's just unable to get around to film it. Because I mean,
I know you're following. We got arrests happening right now. Antifa militants.
I mean, this is something I've not
Multiple people being
seen in
arrested
Seattle.
right
I've
now.
not seen
Oh, I
Seattle
can't
actually
breathe. I
arresting
can't breathe.
Antifa.
Take the damn masks off, everybody.
Wow, we got
Jesus
some arrests
Christ.
going down here.
The umbrellas.
Yeah.
So
So
sad.
that's that. It says Antifa and left wing counter protests showed up in the park, same location, the 2020 deadly Capitol Hill pro chop accused Mayday USA of promoting fascist family values.
Don't let him get away with that. That's Chaz.
Chop, Chaz, whatever it is, but fascist
No,
family values.
it was called Chaz, and then that led to a bunch of memes making fun of it, and they tried to rename it.
Oh.
You don't let them get away with renaming it. That was Chaz, and it will always be Chaz.
I mean,
I
so
don't care what the post millennial says.
they're saying that family values are fascist.
Yes, because he's a radical communist who somehow became mayor of a major city, and he thinks American values are fascism because envy is valid economic policy, according to him.
And this says protesters, including members of the Radical Women's Seattle and Freedom Socialist Party, chanted and sang and waved signs saying, "Keep your Bibles off our bodies." I would never want none of my Bible to touch any of their bodies. I mean, how would you ever get it clean?
I've seen enough movies
Well,
to
I
know
mean,
that if you did that,
holy water?
there would be smoke and fire.
Burn their
This
hands.
is more footage of the Seattle PD arresting dozens of far left activists who joined a counter protest. I thought so there was so it wasn't a concert, then it was a protest in the park.
Well, that's what that's the way they're working. Kind of disappointed in the post.
Multiple Antifa militants who've been arrested before. Here, and of course, the comrades are here swarming, and SPD is again calmly
Swarming.
trying to bring in the wagon now.
Can you imagine the smell?
This is what they despise. They despise the church.
Patchouli
they
and
despise
BO.
Christ. They despise
Which is the stronger of the
SPD and
two?
for the usual
Both are
suspects.
horrible.
On some of them, definitely the BO.
Now, here's my question: is that a man bun?
I don't know. Like I said, you'd have to ask.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah. Tensions escalated around 1:30 before the rally's official start when officers observed members of one group throwing items at another group. So they were throwing things at each other.
And you know what? No, you know what it was. It was Antifa throwing bags of waste. Because that's what
probably that's what they like to do. Or
Ooh.
I remember when they were
That's what they
doing
did
that.
That's what they did at Unite the Right. That's what they're that they don't if they don't have the milkshakes full of concrete.
Mhm.
Milkshakes.
I mean, you've never had a concrete. You never went to Wawa and had a milkshake.
I'm going to shut that off because there's music playing.
You never went to Wawa and got you a concrete milkshake, Uncapped?
No, I haven't. Although I hear it's a very popular flavor in Seattle.
Don't they have something called like where it's like not a concrete or something, or what do they call it?
See, when you get a blizzard, they have to serve it to you upside down.
Yeah, but there's another like that's Dairy Queen that makes the blizzard, right? But there's another place that makes something, and they have a name for it that's almost concrete or something like that. That they actually call it like that, or my brain is not working. Anyway,
we're used to it.
But another 12 arrests were made for assault and obstruction, bringing the total to 23. Among those arrested, 22 adults were booked to King County. One juvenile was arrested for obstruction later. Spiritual warfare in Seattle. Okay, so that's what happened. But I doubt any of these people are actually going to face any serious trouble. All the charges will probably be dropped, right? I mean, that's normally what they do.
Yep, especially there.
That's
in fact, most of these people have been arrested for this multiple times, I'm sure.
In the same place.
Sun's going down, Jim. Thanks. Yeah, I think that's
somebody's pulling it together. Here at the beginning, here at the end.
Yeah. So the Seattle Police Officers Guild, which I believe is their union,
yes,
is put out a statement about the incident. So it says, public safety in the city of Seattle continues to be politicized, and violent Antifa criminals once again dominate Seattle's public safety conversation with their insane use of political violence. This is Seattle's public safety political reality. Over 700 police officers have fled the city in the past decade. This is due to
see what I was saying about the U-Hauls?
Yep. This is due to the public safety political decisions by our elected leaders, activist pressure, and for their lack of action against Antifa criminals who continue to dictate public safety political terms. The remaining police officers in the city are tired. Our community is tired. This is Seattle's public safety political reality. You would think that somebody would do something like they would vote different people in that, right?
No.
Right.
Oh, I mean, if the
Seattle.
public is,
I'm sure the mail-in ballots would make
though.
sure it worked out the way that they want it to.
Time and time again, Seattle's public safety servants have been the tool or entity to blame for Seattle's woes. Despite this reality, SPOG members know that we lead the nation in police accountability and that our accountability system is under full civilian management, yet we incessantly hear political activists calling for more. This is Seattle's public safety political reality. Do they keep repeating the same thing?
Yes.
Oh, they keep repeating the same thing.
Yeah, that's their.
Okay. This is Seattle's.
When you don't have words, you just keep going and going and going, and eventually people will say, "Oh my God! Oh, it got to bring in George Floyd, of course." Okay.
Yeah. Today marks the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's death. We stood with Seattle during the 2020 George Floyd demonstrations. We're not going to call them riots.
Oh no.
Keep going.
As the demonstrations turned riots, it's okay. We were then ordered to protect public buildings and infrastructure at all costs. As a result of these riots and political pressure, our elected leaders decided to surrender a police precinct. We were also prohibited from entering major sections of our city to answer 911 calls. People died as a result. Untold amounts of property destruction occurred. Scores of police were injured. The city paid out millions of dollars. Yeah, that's what I don't understand. Like, all these cities paid out millions of dollars to the people that were doing the crimes and doing the damage.
They don't
Jim,
care. It's not their money.
Jim, this is nothing like January 6th. That was the worst.
That was worse than,
9/11.
9/11. It was worse than Pearl Harbor. I know. It's terrible. Awful. These were the glory days. I mean, come on.
This was peaceful discussion. How dare?
It says the mayor's SPOG welcomes a mayoral review of yesterday's Seattle Parks Department's decision to allow a demonstration permit for families who wanted to exercise their First Amendment rights at Cal Anderson Park. What we are struggling to understand is why was the park chosen and authorized, especially when the park is commonly known as the heart of Antifa land. We have no
That
doubt
almost
that
sounds
this,
like they've been able to take over a section of the city, and it's lawless.
Yeah, like, and so the police are actually saying that they shouldn't have got a permit for that park. They should have been told, no,
Yes.
that park belongs to Antifa.
Mayor is as well.
Yeah. It's the Antifa Park. You didn't know that? You never heard of that? What's wrong
The
with
mayor's demanding a investigation to find out how these evil people were allowed to have a concert and pray
Well,
in America.
I don't have the tweet pulled up, but just so everyone knows, there's also another person who's highly interested in this and what the mayor is saying he's going to do, and that's our esteemed new Deputy Attorney General Hartmeet Dillon, who heads up the DOJ's Civil Rights Division, because she said, "You're going to do what?
What?
You're gonna do what?
what?
You know, because they're going to invest."
I'm not sure this is official, but I think Trump has brought some comments about it.
You know what woke means? It means you're a loser.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have no doubt that this city's decision, as naive or deliberate as it was, put police officers in an untenable predicament. Whether it's our job or not, we were once again ordered to put ourselves in a political quagmire. This is Seattle. Oh, okay.
Why,
to be clear,
why are you forced to do that? You guys all swore the same oath that every other police officer did. And I'm pretty sure the First Amendment is part of that Constitution that you swore to uphold. And if your leadership, your civilian leadership is telling you, which I hate that because police are civilians as well. But if the mayor's office, et cetera, is ordering you to do things that would infringe on those, you have not only the right, but the duty not to follow through with that and to, stop these criminals that just continually go and disrupt anything they dislike happening in this city. And if that's not going to work, you all have sick time. And you can call in. I think John Carpenter had a good idea for Manhattan that maybe should be happening in the Pacific Northwest.
I don't know how they could do that exactly unless they...
The Blue Flu?
Oh, the Blue Flu, yeah. But no, you're saying John Carpenter's idea for Manhattan. I don't know how that would work for...
Well, once you get in the woods, you got to worry about Bigfoot, so just remove the law enforcement presence.
Oh, Bigfoot. Somebody mentioned it's conspiracy night, people. Uncap, open the floodgates.
Yeah. So what they're saying too is that they're not given the necessary tools to hold back the criminal mobs and protect life and property. It puts lives in danger. They learned nothing from 2020. Will the prosecutors and judges hold these criminals accountable?
Antifa, do you really need tools? Most of those guys
spray,
weigh like a $1.05.
I mean, you could use some, bear spray or mace or something, I guess, or tear gas, grenades. I don't know.
None of you have like a little brother as a kid. You just stick your arm out, put it on their head, and they sit there and swing.
Yeah, but as soon as you touch them, they scream they can't breathe, and then they start suing. And
that's true.
Let's see here. It says presently 28% of the city's remaining 847 deployable police officers, 284 are eligible to retire. Oh, wow. That would be bad for Seattle if almost 30% of the police retired.
That's a small number to begin with, too.
I know. Wow. That's tiny police force. See, yeah. I mean, how big is
Seattle?
They
needed to defund the police, remember?
Yeah.
How many people are in Seattle?
Let's find out. Grok. Grok.
Only there was some way to find out.
I'm going to pull that up. Just call me Jamie.
Pull it up, Jamie.
If it'll ever pull up.
Well, if you're using Grok, don't expect miracles.
780,995.
So they basically have one police officer for every 1,000 residents?
No. Less. Hold on. Let's make sure, because I can't talk and do math in my head at the same time.
Yeah. Well, 847. You said 780,000, so they got roughly slightly more than one officer per 1,000 citizens.
That seems pretty low. I know Los Angeles functions
1.11.
Yeah.
Yeah, Los Angeles functions on a small ratio, but there's something different about how it's laid out. Seattle is narrow. The last time I was there, it seemed very small to me.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think Chicago has like 15,000 police officers or 18,000 police officers, something like that. Maybe less now. But and I think the city has a population of like 2 million.
It's saying that Denver is a similarly sized city, and they have 1.94, so twice.
Yeah, that seems closer to normal to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe Seattle, maybe the leftists in Seattle think, I know defund, but maybe they think they don't need police, and that's why the numbers maybe dwindled or something. That's really low number.
Well, see what were the numbers before 2020? How many police officers were in Seattle in, say, 2018?
Let's see what it says. Clickety clack.
Don't fight back.
It was closer to Denver, 1.7.
Okay.
Actually,
so
1.8.
They lost probably almost half their police force or are gone now.
Yeah, and Denver was 2.1. And that's because Denver is a leftist shithole as well.
So maybe they really did defund and reduce the number, and now this is the number that's left. And if those 284 leave, man, they got nobody. They got people to write a few tickets.
Yeah. And I wonder, I don't know, I wonder how much help they can get from their county sheriffs, if any. In that area, it's probably the same sort of thing, or who knows?
Unless the sheriffs are, the right-leaning people, because it's only the cities that are left and blah blah blah, and maybe the sheriffs are saying, "Burn, baby, burn."
Yeah, I would think the county's probably a lot larger and has people coming from other places.
Oh, it's really bad.
Is it
based
really
on
bad?
based on the people that are leaving as well, not just counting the police officers? It goes down to 0.73.
Wow. Yeah, and actuality too, those numbers are not are just like a
And that's taking into account the number of people that are leaving to, because it's turned into a war zone. So
yeah, and then that number of police officers is actually not really. That's not how many they have to deploy at any time, because they have to work at shifts, and even if they're working 12s, that's still cutting that in half. So, not to mention people get days off and everything. So, I mean, you're probably actually only at any time, they probably only have, say, like 350 deploy, on any one day, at any one shift, they have 350 cops around.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and you can't actually deploy 100% of the people, because some of them have to be in other places. So
some of them have to be in dispatch. Some of them
they
have
got
to be
nothing.
at the jail.
They got literally nothing.
wow. Yeah.
Good thing it's a peaceful place, because if it wasn't peaceful, things would be bad there.
Yeah. So
let's be honest. It's just mostly peaceful.
Mostly, yes.
So this was an actual, as you can see, this was an actual document released by the Seattle Police Officers Guild. And then our good friend Jonathan Turley, he had something to say about this whole thing. I don't know if everyone knows Jonathan Turley. He's actually a Democrat constitutional attorney and a Supreme Court jurist. Like not jurist, but Supreme Court litigator. Is that a jurist? No, jurist is a judge, right?
I don't know what prudence stands.
But good guy. Even though he's a Democrat, he's still really a good person, and believes in the Constitution. So he says, on Saturday, Antifa and other radicals launched another violent attack on conservatives. Pastors were holding what they described as a permitted Christian worship event in a park when black-clad Antifa members tried to storm and tear down a barricade. To their credit, the Seattle police moved in and arrested the radicals. However, what happened next is even more concerning. Mayor Bruce Harrell, seen in the picture to the right, this guy.
Whoa.
This guy this is the mayor, Bruce
I liked
Harrell.
him in Stand and Deliver.
Yeah.
Looks like an
He was
Asian
great on
version of
Battlestar.
Uncapped.
Oh,
Damn.
what did I do to you?
I don't know, man. My bad.
I liked him in Machete.
Yeah, he kind of does look like Danny Trejo.
Yeah.
But, however, what happened next was more concerning. Bruce Harrell seemed to blame the Christian group and demanded to know why they were given a permit at all for the event in the area.
You're a disgrace.
Police in Seattle are shown in videotapes. See, I don't see. Like, they still call it videotapes, but it's not really videotapes. Everything's digital now. Nobody's using tape anymore.
Yeah, I know, really.
Speak for
But
yourself.
it's just a term, for videotape.
VHS is making a comeback, man.
Yeah. Several
I don't
black-clad
understand why, but
Beta-
Betamax
masked
forever.
individuals.
Betamax.
who tried to overcome the fencing and storm the stage. This is clearly an improvement over the Summer of Love approach. Furious in Seattle.
Now, I'm during the pandemic and when this all started, I had lots of time on my hands and there was streams. Remember, we used to sit around and watch Riot TV. And that was significantly different because that's the first time I've ever seen Seattle police actually arresting Antifa.
Yeah, there was actual. I'm trying to remember some of the names of some of the streamers, but there was a guy
most of them are gone. It might be better not to mention them since you want to keep your YouTube channel. But
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it was a thing.
Yeah.
I've got 60 gigs of Riot footage sitting on my hard drive here.
Jesus,
So
that's a lot of
says,
Right,
Nothing
horn.
else to do.
good times.
Good times.
Anyway, so Mayor Bruce Harrell released the following statement that attacked the Christian group for holding an extreme right-wing rally while demanding an investigation into why they were given this permit instead of being moved into a more remote spot. So you guys can have your thing, you just have to have it outside of the city?
Yeah.
It's extreme right wing. We would prefer if you don't mutilate children for sexual fetishes.
Oh my God, that's so extreme. Stop saying that. Oh no.
It says Seattle is proud of our reputation as a welcoming, inclusive city for LGBTQ plus communities, and we stand with our trans neighbors when they face bigotry and injustice. Today's far right rally was held here for this very reason, to provoke a reaction by promoting beliefs that are inherently opposed to our city's values in the heart of Seattle's most. So basically, I think I honestly think this statement of his could be used in a lawsuit by the Department of Justice to prove that he is violating the civil rights of Christians.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Because
His
his statement is saying that his city is not accepting and won't accept. They say that they're all for inclusion and all this stuff, but they refuse to accept other people for their beliefs.
They like to use the phrase tolerance, right, Jim?
Yeah.
Now, let's think about the word tolerance. Can you tolerate something you endorse?
Of course, if you endorse it, you're tolerating it.
You're no longer tolerating it. You're
endorsing. But no, what I'm saying, but
you're not just living and let living. You're not just saying I can accept that you hold these beliefs that are different than mine. They love to use the word tolerance but demand that you just abandon your beliefs and adopt theirs. You can't tolerate something that you have adopted.
Right, but I think it's more than that. Like their view of tolerance is not the actual dictionary definition of tolerance. Where we are all very tolerant of all of this stuff, and the fact being is because they're still walking around.
Right.
If we were intolerant, they wouldn't be.
Right. That's what I'm just trying to point that.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the bottom line. Games they play word games, but they're trying to say the Christian group is intolerant. The Christian group has not done anything to any of these people, haven't harmed them, haven't hurt them, haven't touched them. So they're tolerant. You are.
Words are violence, and silence is violence. The only thing that isn't violence is violence, because Antifa wasn't being violent. That's why the mayor needs to defend them.
Mhm.
Are you as confused as I am?
I am. I'm getting really confused.
Yeah, I'm lost.
No, they are. That's the problem. And then somebody was trying to give them a map to not be.
So, yeah, it says when the humanity of trans people and those who have been historically marginalized is questioned, we triumph by demonstrating our values through our words and peaceful protest. We lose our voice when this is disrupted by violence, chaos, and confusion. Well, they were the ones being violent, weren't they?
Questioned. I just would like to talk to anybody in America from it's been in a coma since like 2017 and ask them if this is normal.
Yeah, and just listen to this next paragraph here, because it's like so mind-bendingly backwards that it's ridiculous. While there are broad First Amendment requirements around permitting events under free speech protections, I am directing the Parks Department to review all the circumstances of this application to understand whether there were legal locations, alternatives, or other adjustments that could have been pursued. The police department will complete an after-action report of this event, including understanding preparation, crowd management tactics, and review of arrests and citations. So,
where's any of this the condemnation of people charging and attacking the barricades?
Oh, well, they were incited by these evil Christian people who were trying to undermine, trans rights and so forth. So, yeah, I mean, at that point, you have to not give no credence to that. Come on, get with it.
Okay, real quick, I want to say goodbye to Facebook and X, Twitter. I usually leave them on for an hour just so people can see, and hopefully they'll come to YouTube or Rumble to watch the show. If you're on Facebook or X, please come over to Rumble or YouTube if you want to continue watching.
Rumble.
Have a good night, and we'll see you over there.
Bye.
I don't know if I would end the Facebook one. Don't they pay you?
No.
Are you not monetized on Facebook?
I have no idea. I'm actually probably not. I probably shouldn't be streaming to my Facebook page because I'll end up losing my Facebook page or something.
And if it's your actual personal
it's,
one.
it's my actual Facebook page.
Zuckerberg's totally not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
So, yes, the ACLU are Marxists. Yes, they are Trumpinator.
Mm-hmm. They didn't used to be, but now they are.
It's a long time ago that it wasn't.
Organizational capture.
Yeah. I don't use Facebook at all anymore.
Yeah, so check this.
That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
We have discussed other Democratic politicians like Nancy Pelosi demanding reviews or revocations of permits going to Christian or conservative groups. The problem is that conservative or religious views are treated as triggering a common claim in higher education. Right. I do not know anything about this Christian group, but they were clearly the victims, not the cause of this violence. Suggesting that the location was too triggering for transgender activists is yet another example of a failure of leadership on the left. So that's.
I mean, it's all very clear cut, and it's just they keep repeating the same talking points, so they're going to keep doing this playbook, and it's never going to get settled. It's stupid.
Oh, it will get settled eventually.
Yeah,
We're
so
just not going to like the way it gets
you got
settled.
Stuff like this, you got the Keith Ellison.
Oh, Keith Ellison, woman beater Keith Ellison.
Yeah, he's the Attorney General of Minnesota, and he's a proud anti-fascist, which just means
former head of the DNC, Keith Ellison.
Yeah, they support beating. So some dangerous Democrats have played a dangerous game in supporting or excusing the work of Antifa. Former Democrat National Committee Deputy Chair Keith Ellison, now the Minnesota Attorney General, once said Antifa would strike fear in the heart of Trump. This was after Antifa had been involved in numerous acts of violence, and its website was banned in Germany. Yeah, like I remember Antifa when Trump was running in 2016. They would go and they were attacking the people, that woman that was getting egged and hit in the face trying to go to a Trump rally. They were basically trying to stop people from going to rallies.
No. The FBI told me that's crazy talk. There's no such thing as Antifa. Antifa is an idea. Not an organization with a flag and a logo. meeting house.
See, that's the one thing I would think that Dan Bongino and Cash Patel would actually be doing is actually be investigating Antifa and who's funding them and going after the organization behind it, because they are committing RICO violations with the stuff they're doing, and you could get the people that are backing and doing it and, tie up, round them up and bring them to justice.
There's a reason my pill is Vanta Black.
Ellison's son, Minneapolis City Council member Jeremiah Ellison, declared his allegiance to Antifa in the heat of the protests this summer. During a prior hearing, Democratic senators refused to denounce Antifa. Likewise, Joe Biden had dismissed objections to Antifa as just an idea.
Not just Joe Biden.
Yeah. They're playing a dangerous game. In the end, they will fare no better than their enemies. That's it. Bob turns on enabling establishment figures. So.
And they're all guys at the time.
What? They're all guys at the time?
He was talking about his cabinet.
I'm just putting that in trans context to say they're all guys at the time. Okay, I
think
get
he
it.
was. I think he was talking about the former Surgeon General.
Yeah. Yep. And that there was a military leader that was also transgender at the time.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
That was fucking great. That was a classic.
That was perfect.
They
That is
let
perfect.
that slide so hard too.
No, you want to know the one that they let slide? You all remember he caught the heck for this,
I got hairy legs.
right?
Yeah.
But nobody picked up on this.
So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap.
Yeah, that jumping on my lap part. Yeah, that one.
No.
They-
He called black children roaches.
Oh, did he? I was just more
So I
concerned
learned
about
about
the.
roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap.
Oh no!
It's all in context is what matters.
Yeah, I just remember the. I got hairy legs. No, the little black kids would come up and they'd run their hands down it, and then my hairs would flow back up in the water, and then it's so stupid, man.
So
Sorry.
have you guys been following any of this stuff lately with the court cases that people, all these injunctions that have been happening with Trump and, the going after him? Well, there was I don't know if you noticed, there was some crazy judge in San Francisco or Oakland that said that
You
Trump
sound like
wasn't.
you're holding him. You should be held in contempt.
Yes, that said that Trump couldn't revoke the temporary protective status for all the Venezuelans and Haitians and Dominicans that Biden flew into the country all over to, remember the whole
haven't you
eating the
read the
dogs, eating the cats
Constitution?
thing? Yeah.
Article 3 is higher than Article 2, and that means Article 3, the judiciary has all the power.
Yeah, there was actually somebody arguing that with me, trying to tell me that every single federal judge, no matter, there's over 1,000 federal judges in the districts and in all the, in the circuits and everything, that each one of them have the same power as the president.
Well, yes, they
And
can
more-
tell the
and
president
more power.
anything they want.
Yeah.
They can tell them anything they want.
Yeah.
Hire
And they
more
have
people,
more
fire
power
more
than
people.
the SCOTUS.
Of course.
Yeah. So the Supreme Court has ruled 8-1 in favor of overturning a lower court that blocked the Trump administration from revoking the temporary protective status of hundreds of thousands of Venezuelan nationals.
Well, that was on the 19th. It's been.
Yes, this is an older story.
Since then?
Yeah. No, this is an older story. This is stuff.
Right, but I
from
believe that the lower court basically said, okay, well, here's the new TRO.
Did he really?
Yes, I believe that was Friday.
Oh my goodness.
They're going to just keep going at this until the Supreme Court basically says all of this is bullshit. They're just going to keep nickel and diming it.
But
it'll be
but
4
Roberts is not
years
gonna
of
do
nickel
it.
and diming this.
Right, Roberts is not going to do that. So what needs to happen is Trump needs to just put out a statement that says,
Who cares?
and go do whatever he's going to do. The judiciary doesn't have. Is it Andrew Jackson? He has his ruling. Now let's see how he can enforce it.
Well, I know, and everybody always goes back to that, and that's one of those things. They say, yeah, I get it. Nobody's going to enforce it, but for some reason, people still live by it. So something officially really needs to be said. The Supreme Court really needs to step up. I mean, this is so stupid. 1,000 federal judges can Anybody anywhere can tell Trump, you can't do that. And then weeks and months go by and he can't do it because he's obeying some nobody judge who said you can't do that. Yeah, the judge in some part of Hawaii says, no, you can't do that in Washington. I say no. Oh, we better stop.
Well, I have the crazy thought that if Trump doesn't choose to ignore these, because maybe he could take 5 minutes and read that Constitution he swore to uphold, and go, oh, if I don't do this, then I'm ceding the power of the executive to the judiciary, and therefore no longer upholding the Constitution.
Well, that's true, and he sets the example that then
Right.
becomes precedent, and then
Exactly. So he becomes complicit in it.
Yeah. Well, I think he's partially probably worried that as soon as Democrats take control of the House, they're going to just immediately impeach him, and they're going to use any excuse possible to try and do it. I mean, they're going to do it anyway.
Do that anyway. They've already said they're going to do that anyway.
Right, but
there's no stopping that.
There is a chance. There is still a chance, as long as Trump can keep the normies, the people in the middle, with him. You know what I mean? On his side, which so far he has. He's still approval rating is in the positive. Still, it's over 50. With Norm, you know what I mean? So
where was it in August of 2020?
It was pretty high, I thought, and
yeah, we were all sure that it was going to be a Reagan-esque landslide.
Well, there was intervening things that happened. A lot of
I'm
ballots
saying in
went through
August.
mail
I'm talking. Even regarded, it shouldn't have been even close.
It shouldn't have been. But anyway, what I'm saying though is that right now
the
the Democrats
normies have the memory of a goldfish, and right now the reason he's bleeding support right now is because Congress and him are not telling these judges where to stick it. That's where he's losing his support.
It's Congress. It's because there's a bunch of people in Congress who don't support Trump, don't support the Trump agenda. I'm talking Republicans. Don't. They're phonies. You know, they'll say that stuff to get the votes, but then in office they are not doing anything. They're not codifying the Doge cuts.
And the only ones that actually are doing the right thing and doing their job and caring about it, Trump's throwing temper tantrums after the Rand Pauls and the Masseys, and he loves Lindsey Graham. He'll go and do a tour and make sure that Graham gets reelected, but he's going to primary Massey because Massey was right that if all this spending was going to end up, bankrupting the country, and he pushed back then, and then now he's pushed back on this big, beautiful bill that isn't so big, and it's big, but it isn't beautiful. Somehow we're spending more money by cutting. We're cutting, but we're spending more. And we don't have the money to spend.
Well, no, I mean, right now we're spending like $2 trillion more than we take in every year.
Yeah,
that has to
and
stop.
We're $37 trillion in the hole. Yeah. We're bankrupt. I'm trying to be careful because I know you're on YouTube.
I know. Just one second.
You have
Steve,
the people
I don't
on the
know
left.
if Joe's going to take the night off. I haven't heard from him. I sent him a message. He didn't get back to me. But if he was going to stream, I would have thought he would have streamed by midnight.
Did you tell him that I was going to be here?
No, I didn't tell him you were going to be here. If I did, he probably would have showed up.
He probably would have showed up.
Yeah,
he's a fan. Hey, what can I do, man? People become fans of Senate.
He heard I was going to be here, and that's why he's not here.
Yeah, look, Uncapped, I've got nothing against you, but you are a lot to take sometimes.
I know.
It's
that's what she said.
Sometimes it's sort of difficult. I was waiting for somebody to pick up on it. I was like, Jesus, I just laid it there. I literally just handed it out, and nobody's gonna take it.
Thank you, low watermark. See, if I said it wouldn't have been as good.
Yeah, I don't see anything about Joe going live tonight, so I don't think he's going to stream. Unfortunately, maybe
one of you two needs to rant because apparently I'm not ranting well enough for Steve.
Oh, okay.
I'm needing a rant. I've got a rant for you, Uncapped.
Okay,
but it's we're talking about politics, so I don't want to go in there. And Jim too. I got a bone to pick with both of you.
Okay, go ahead.
Talking about my personal business with other people, huh?
Hmm.
What is this all about?
What are you talking about?
Nah,
What you
the
talking
whole
about, Willis?
JJ Trujillo stream. We I don't know if you came by CG Church, but we EFAP that tonight. And then,
Oh yeah, I saw some of it. I was just trying to find out what exactly they were talking
I'm
about.
not
I
gonna
couldn't.
lie. Jim had 2 zingers. I don't think anybody picked up on. What was the question? Was like, what do you think's a good audience or whatever it was? And Jim said 1,000 concurrent viewers, and I was like, oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
And
I
then
was not in any way, shape, or form saying that. Like, I wasn't putting myself in the category of having a good, you know what I mean? Being like having a
yeah, and then the other one
You
was
have tens of viewers.
tens.
then the other thing you said was the other thing you said was, I'm not afraid of you. I'll say it to your face. And just something about that just stuck with me so good. It was great, man. It was hilarious. And then Uncapped coming in and then being spun around to the other side of the team. I just
I just
You'll
was-
get
I-
one,
I was
Steve.
just
You'll
trying
get
to
one. It's
add-
coming.
I was tired of the same argument coming.
yeah,
from
the
both sides.
talking in circles, it did get
Yeah,
ridiculous.
that's.
Yeah,
I was playing both sides. So.
I appreciate
Oh,
it.
I wanted to get
Hey,
on to
Cynic,
move. I
you
wanted to
have a
move on to
channel.
something else.
I do. I'm actually starting it up in June. It's going to be called. I'll link it in the chat. It's called FFS, and we also. You probably wouldn't like our other channel that we do. It's called
For fuck's
CG
sake.
Church and the King Stream. Yes, actually, that's actually what it stands for. And it has multiple meanings actually. But the other stream is sort of like Comicsgate related, and then sort of meme stuff like internet news, internet celebrities, crazy things that go on online. I debated like a whole bunch of lolicons one time on there. That was a lot of fun. But I'll link them. I'll link them in the chat.
Did you burn your hard drive after?
Thank God I was on my laptop, so I just threw the laptop away and we got a new one.
So,
Yeah,
has
worked out
anybody
good
been
for
paying
somebody named
attention
Hunter.
to Senator Rubio, who's been turned into Secretary of State Rubio, who's turned into actually one of the best appointments I think that Trump's actually made? He's either very good at faking or he is for real.
Most improved player.
Yeah, most improved player. Like,
Yeah.
he's angling to become president.
He's
Somebody
been
said-
angling for years. The problem is, man, I just don't think he's honest enough.
Uh-oh.
You know what I mean? Like he just doesn't have what
We lost Uncapped. But
I don't think he has enough. I don't think that Rubio carries enough water in the honesty department because he's always come off a little greasy. You know what I mean? You should know more than I do because he's from Florida and you've dealt with him a lot more. But every time I've ever thought about like maybe looking at potentially voting
I
for him
wanted
or
somebody-
having
I
any
wanted
sort of
him to
support
get-
for him.
I was begging Byron Donalds to primary Rubio before he
Yeah.
became Secretary of State.
Rubio is just like what was y'all's last governor? For some reason I had a brain fart. Or what's y'all's
Rick
governor's
Scott.
name?
Rick Scott.
No. What's y'all's current governor's name? I'm
Ron
forgetting
DeSantis.
his name. Ron DeSantis, right? I think they're both Ron DeSantis a little less, but I think they're both establishment guys who pretend not to be establishment guys.
Ron wanted to be president so bad that he tried to jump the gun and guaranteed that he never will be.
Yeah,
Ron
he's
wants to be
got,
president so bad he would blow a guy for it. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he I guarantee he doesn't have a shot anymore. There's
No,
people
yeah,
that will never
his
forgive
time
him.
in the sun's over with. He shot himself going against Trump like he did, and he made
He'll
many
he'll end up
weird
back in the Senate
mistakes.
again.
To be honest with you, the cowboy boot thing where everybody was memeing on him for months about how like his silly cowboy boots are. That was one of those. What was the guy that yelled out "Yeah"? And then the other guy in the tank.
Oh yeah, he was.
It was one of those moments to me, and I went, "No, Ron, no, just
Howard
wear dress
Dean.
shoes."
Now the thing is, the Howard Dean thing that was completely controlled, and because as you can find, if you go search on YouTube, you're going to find like David Lee Roth singing "Running with the Devil" without the band backing him, and the sound guy can ruin you. That sounded fine to the people that were there, but by isolating and hiding all the crowd noise, you made him sound like an idiot. And he was gaining in the polls, and that
So they
killed his
sabotaged him.
momentum. Yeah, they sabotaged him. I firmly believe that was some Hillary, and that led to I mean, look at who ended up taking it that year. So,
Yeah.
they got this young upstart and smacked him down and ended his career because he
Yeah,
had the audacity to try and jump ahead of where he should have been.
Yeah, as long as I don't get doxxed for my internet shenanigans, I'm gonna run for politics. I'm gonna run, for political office one day. So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I think Byron's probably going to win as far as the primary goes. I don't know. I'm not sure if what's going on with the Hope Florida scandal with the governor's wife, with DeSantis' wife, if that's coming from Byron Donald's camp to try and push him out of the way, or if it's coming from some what?
I was laughing at a chat. Sweet
Oh,
Tooth. That's supposed to be one of my alts because I don't know
mhm.
if y'all know I've got every YouTube chat that mentions me is my alt. And he said, "Cynic, why did you link my channel?" So he was fucking with me for putting my channel in the chat.
Yeah, I believe unhyphenated. My personal belief is there is 50 to 70 million illegals in the country. That's my personal belief, just going by what I've seen with my eyes. It change over time and it grow. If you remember correctly, under George W. Bush, when they were trying to push for amnesty, they were telling us there was 12 million or 15 million or something. And then under Obama,
I'll be
they
right
kept
back,
the same
boys.
numbers. And then they've been repeating the same number for years. But we know that millions come in every year and less than a million are kicked out every year. So if you just keep adding the math, you know what I mean? We know, and we're getting reports, and you see the stuff where there's the people that have been here for 20 years working with stolen, fraudulent documents, taking benefits, robbing us. This has to stop. It can't go on. It has to stop. I
Well,
hope that
Jim,
was a good enough rant.
Jim, you keep missing the point. You're using old math. New math today, millions in, a million out, millions more in, millions out. Okay, same number as 1967. That's math, Jim. You can't argue with science. Come on.
I just don't.
I know
Oh, yeah,
for a
so
fact that the year Obama took office, the deporter in chief, I read an article that said Harvard had estimated that the U.S. government was undercounting the number of illegal immigrants by saying that there were 11 million by over 100%.
oh, definitely.
I read a similar article that said it was over at least 80% off, and the government was still saying that the last year that Obama was in office.
Nobody in the no president since I think the last president to do interior enforcement like Trump is doing now was Bill Clinton. None of them ever did any. Once you got in, as long as you didn't basically do something really bad that they caught you, they didn't do any type of searching. They didn't go to any job sites like they're doing now. I mean, it just has to happen. They should be going. Any business that employs illegal aliens, the business should be fined. And if they're breaking laws, they need to be punished. They need to be held to account. What's happening is they're lowering all the wages for all the Americans. I mean, you go to some of these places, the fast food places, and if you don't speak Spanish, they won't hire you.
Well, and it's not just the wages. Think about the fact that they were shipping these people to all these little small towns, right? And they were giving them $2,000 a month rent assistance. So you've got a landlord in Podunk, USA, and he's got a 50-unit apartment complex, and say he's charging $800 a month rent because that's what the market would bear. And you get an influx of 40 or 50 illegal immigrants, and the government's giving them $2,000 a month rent assistance. What happens to those people that could only afford the $800 a month apartment? Their lease comes up, the price gets raised, they can't afford to live there anymore. Lather, rinse, repeat for 4 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, and that's actually what's driving up rent prices all around the country is all the people that they brought in, and then they gave government money to rent assistance so they can afford to get these places. And then, if I'm not mistaken,
and that's not counting all the NGO money that was being siphoned through USAID, and then handed out, just wrecking the economy of all these places.
yeah, Godspeed. You guys should have built a wall. I agree. You should have built a wall.
Oh my
Hey,
god.
we did not conquer this land. We bought it. Enjoy those beads.
Yeah. So back to this. So Rubio put out a statement about all these injunctions that have been happening. It's been wreaking havoc on our foreign relations. So it's the most clear example yet of why SCOTUS needs to immediately intervene and rein in these judges masquerading as diplomats. All right, here's this.
He wasn't mean enough there.
No, it won't let me blow this up. But anyway, it says, I, Marco Rubio.
Right click and open it in a new tab. Right click and open the image in a new tab. Then you can blow the image up.
Okay.
I was going to say something about UNCAP knows how to blow things, but never mind. Just,
Hold on one second.
don't like dead air. No dead air.
I'm trying. I'm getting there.
This is YouTube. You mean unalive air?
Yeah.
One second. All right, I just had to get them all. All right, here we go.
That works. That's the trick.
It says, he says, I am the Secretary of State of the United States and the head of the United States Department of State, the executive department of the United States. As Secretary of State, he says he's the chief foreign affairs officer. He carries out the president's foreign policy. And his statement made.
Thank God, that takes a long time to get through the introductions, doesn't it?
I know it does. It's crazy,
fucking,
right?
It's
crazy.
It's ridiculous, man. I hate fucking reading these bills word for word. But you also can't trust some of these websites that just are like, here's the synopsis, because there's so much shit in some of them.
Yeah.
Now you know why all the lawyers that we watch on YouTube are insane, because they spend years of their life learning to type documents like that.
Here's one of the things that is a problem with that is the law and all these lawsuits and everything like that are supposed to be worded for the common man. Like,
this is worded for the common man. It's just verbose.
Yeah, but it's not worded for the common man. An average person, right, could not read most of this stuff and understand what it's saying by the time they get done with it.
This is how I know he's way younger than us, Jim.
What? Because I know people who are very stupid.
No, I'm just reminded of the old example of your car owner's manual used to tell you how to gap your spark plugs.
Yeah.
Do you know that they don't even put manuals in the cars anymore? They put it.
Sure don't.
Right.
Yeah, they
sure
don't.
But literally, he's saying he's just, for the record, stating who he is, what part of the U.S. code makes.
Yeah,
his office
I know
legitimate.
that. I know that, but I'm saying an average person that you just grab a normal, regular person off the street. Go grab Ruby King, my co-host, who's not a retarded man, and make him read this, and he'll be like, I don't know what half this means. What are you talking about?
Which is sad. I mean, it literally, this is written for the common man. This is written at a third grade level.
Well, it's been a long time since you've been in third grade, Uncapped. I'm just saying.
I thought there was something in the Constitution that all the laws were supposed to be written in a way that the plain man could understand them.
The plain common man can read it. There's not supposed to be.
Well, hold on. Let's take it out of context. Let's try and read it, as you would conversationally. Yeah. I was going to say just as you would in a conversation.
Colloquially works though.
I'm the Secretary of State of the United States, the head of the United States Department of State, an executive department of the United States. As the Secretary of State, I'm the President's chief foreign affairs advisor. I carry out the President's foreign policy through the State Department and the Foreign Services of the United States. What part of that would be confusing to the common man other than the format it's in and going, oh God, that's a lot of words. I'm freaked out.
Well, you got the U.S. code there. You got the declaring a penalty of perjury. Let's see. I'm the Secretary of State of the United States, the head of the United States Department of State, Executive Department of the United States, U.S. code.
Is it the fact that footnotes exist? Because, We are well past idiocracy if that's too much for people.
We are fully well past idiocracy. I don't know if you
I
realize
don't
it.
disagree, but
I mean,
I mean,
we definitely are.
the reason that it's a legal document, that's why they're listing the code and what applies as far as the U.S.
Right.
code and stuff. That's why it's there, because it's a legal document. I mean, he could have just, if he was talking, he'd say, "Look, I'm the Secretary of State. I'm in charge of foreign affairs." That's what he's saying.
Yeah, he should have done that.
he did.
Yeah. And he's like, his statements made are in his personal knowledge. He's saying, "This is all the shit I know,
Right.
and I'm gonna lay it out for you. I'm gonna walk it. I'm gonna walk it out. I'm gonna walk it out." And the reason he's declaring this is because, in his capacity as the Secretary of State, there's been a lot of shit happening, causing problems to us, right? And on the 20th, you ordered something, and it's stupid. You want us to maintain custody of people and do things in the South Sudan, and it just makes no sense. It's not feasible. We can't do it. That's what paragraph 3 is saying in plain English.
The issue is, though, you should just write it in plain English.
It is written in plain English. That's my argument.
You keep saying that, but it's not to the common person. You and I are not the common person. We're college educated. I'm assuming you're college educated. We're college educated. We're both not in our mid-20s working at Walmart. Right? Like we're not
like I said,
people.
my pill
so
is Vanta Black. And this is one of the reasons why, Jim.
But I agree with you.
We're not pulling out of this spiral because I don't want to get caught too much into the argument here. Jim's being very clear that it makes sense. And to me, this is as plain English as you're going to get if you're writing anything remotely formal. I mean, if you can't read this, you can't read the front page of the USA Today from 10 years ago.
This is written in a way that it's supposed to be written. And if you went to school and in high school, your English teacher, whoever, writing class, are telling you how to write something out, how you basically lay it out the correct way. This is written in that manner. This isn't written the way you would write a letter to your, actually,
Dear Judge,
100 years ago, 150 years ago. Yeah, they would have wrote. Ever seen the letters from the people writing to their, my dearest Bethunia, I am missing you greatly. I cannot wait until I can.
All you have to do is watch the movie Glory and
right.
listen to the letters that they wrote. Those things were amazing.
Right. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. Those were uneducated people, far less educated than we are, with far less information available to them. And look, they were able to communicate in the written
I'm
word.
not saying me, Nighthawk. I can read this perfectly fine. I've got family who
he has a third grade education. People, leave him alone.
I've also been to college, and I can read this perfectly.
That's
fine.
Where you got broke.
I'm just saying
That's
annoys.
What broke you.
Probably. It just annoys me that I'm sorry. It's just an annoyance of mine because I could give this to some people that I know that aren't retarded people, and they would be like, "This is nonsense."
They would just give up. It's not what's written there. It's the fact that there's a lot of text, and therefore they would give up. The problem is that you have to keep in mind that any appeals, all that stuff, there is no oral argument. It's all the only thing they have is the written record.
I prefer oral personally, but that's just me.
Okay, so the purpose of this declaration is to confirm, in my capacity as the Secretary of State, ahead of the Department of State, that the orders of this court included on April 30th and May 20th caused significant and irreparable harm to U.S. foreign policy. The May 20th order requires defendants to maintain custody and control of class members currently being removed to South Sudan or any other third country, and to ensure the practical feasibility of return if the court finds that such removals were unlawful. This requirement has already had and will continue to have negative consequences to important U.S. strategic interests, including to Libya, South Sudan, and Djibouti. So what he's saying is that what the court's telling them to do is causing lots of problems with the other countries that they're dealing with, and it makes us look like a bunch of clowns. That the people that are supposed to be running our foreign policy, that are supposed to be in charge, the executive branch, Secretary of State, that to these other countries, it looks like there's judges that are actually running our foreign policy.
and you don't want to lose the appearance of being in control, because otherwise, say, why am I dealing with you when Judge Joe Black over there is the guy in charge?
Why'd you have to go with black?
I know. I was
I
coming
mean-
up with a word, and I just couldn't get there and couldn't have dead air. So
I
I
made it.
threw out the first thing that I thought of.
Again, it's unalive air. We're trying to keep
So-
Jim's channel on.
See,
there.
they're going to say in Libya, the court's orders have interfered with quiet diplomatic efforts and exacerbated internal political and security divisions in Libya. Because I don't know if you guys remember, there's been some problems in Libya. There was that whole thing with Hillary Clinton where she decided that, we came, we saw, he died. As she said, when, the guy who actually did what the U.S. wanted and gave up all his weapons of mass destructions and his nuclear program and surrendered it all. And then we subsequently
You talking
went
about
and,
Gaddafi?
yes, Gaddafi, where we
Yeah.
subsequently. So now Libya is basically a failed state with like open air slave markets and everything. And
Yeah.
so trying to find somebody you can actually deal with in Libya is hard enough.
Never kick out the actual dictator who's doing the job, people. Just to keep the person in there. They're doing the job. Get it done.
But Mark, the grass is always greener on the other side.
Yes, it is. And we always end up here, exactly here. Greener grass. And talk about the Shah of Iran for a while. Come on.
Yeah. So what it says is factions opposed to the prime minister, Dababia, sought to capitalize on public
Dababa.
reports of potential migration removals to Libya for political gain. Libya's government of national unity publicly rejected the use of Libyan territory for accepting deportees. Rival authorities based in Benghazi also denied any agreement with the United States to accept deportees. In the context of this political unrest, GNU-aligned forces took action against two largest armed groups in Libyan capital on May 12th, 13th, sparking the most serious street fighting in Tripoli since 2022. As of May 21st, the situation in Tripoli remains unsettled. The GNU-aligned forces and their opponents seek to consolidate political and military support. On May 19th, senior Libyan officials informed the department that unrest in Tripoli had forced a postponement in the announcement of a significant commercial deal to expand activities of a U.S. energy company in Libya. So now this makes me think this is more about energy and oil deals or something, gas deals, whatever going on in Libya than anything else.
Well, it definitely is. I don't know if you listened to the All In Pod, but recently they had a wonderful episode, and one of the things that they discussed is we're in a death spiral financially. It doesn't matter what we do, and Congress can't cut anything, because anything they cut means you don't get elected, because you cut somebody's money, and they're going to make sure you're not able to go back. But there is an equation that if we can come up with a certain amount of power generation, electricity, not just electricity, but power in general. We're not talking about political power, but
Right.
the things that power our machines. There is a number that can solve our deficit. And so that's why there's such a focus. It's not going to be solved by putting a bunch of solar panels in the middle of the desert to collect dust and not work. But that's why the Trump administration has this massive focus on that. And then let's also just not pretend that that's all any of our interest in the Middle East has ever been about. Oil.
Well, it is, of course.
So but he's just pointing out that, look, we had a deal that's now been canceled because a rogue judge that doesn't have this authority is claiming to have authority under Article 2 that he doesn't have under Article 3. And we would prefer not to ignore you. Get back in your lane.
But that's where we started like a half hour ago. How do they get past these rogue judges, inferior court judges that are doing these things? They got to do something. Otherwise, 4 years goes by pretty quick, people.
You don't have 4 years.
No, you got 2.
You don't even have
If
2.
that.
You don't even have 2. You've got about 12 months, because then you're in election season.
I
So-
know.
so you-
Eternal
this-
election
this-
season. Election season for the 2 year, and then the 3 year and the 4 year. Oh, he's a lame duck already. That's great. So it's a point of despair. Let's just give up now. You know,
Yes,
because
13
it's
months
already
from the
too
time he
late.
took office.
Yeah, it's too late, people. It's too late. Give up.
No,
Well,
but
I
I
mean,
think
that's
honestly,
what I'm
I
saying.
think this might be a little different with Trump simply because of who he is and how he operates and what he does, because he doesn't care about political, like legacy type of thing. He's not really worried about this. He wants to. His political legacy will be guided by
I'll go
his
get the red
accomplishments.
hat, and I'll go get the red hat and put it on if you need me to. But he does care. That's one of that's his
What I
weakness.
mean, he's not worried about like making.
No, that's his weakness. Is he does care. He does care what these people think of him, and he doesn't accept that they're just going to ignore whatever they think. You know, they don't care. Orange Man bad. Magic Talkie Box told me Orange Man bad, so Orange Man bad. It doesn't matter what he does. He could cure cancer and save Biden, and they wouldn't care.
I mean,
They'd be pro cancer.
It also doesn't really matter unless he's going to tap somebody to be like the guy that runs next time. You know what I mean? So
He's gonna pick the next guy who it's gonna be. He's gonna.
Yeah, but I
It's gonna
mean,
be him.
yeah, but that would be funny. I'm not gonna
What
lie.
I'm saying is normally with normal presidents and stuff, the lame duck president and everything, like they would be. There's already people angling. You know what I mean? Like somebody's gonna step out of line and try to like step in because they want to be the next president to try and overshadow him or do something. He's gonna squash him down like a bug and embarrass him and basically ruin, like basically do it'll be DeSantis 2.0.
Right.
So he's not the same as other people like Bush or the people that'll just like, well, I'm leaving and I'm done, so I'm just gonna walk away, and let it happen. He's gonna, I think until the day he leaves office, he's gonna be acting like it's his first day in office.
Yeah, but my point that I was getting at was who is there? Somebody better step up quick. Because like y'all were just saying, the time that you got to start really getting a campaign going and doing anything is not very
We're
far
reading
away.
a letter from
already.
one of the guys doing that.
So, I mean, I haven't
we're
seen
reading
anybody
a-
that. Go ahead.
Well, yeah,
We're reading a court filing from somebody who's in the process of doing that.
Right,
I
and
get
that's
that.
where you started that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm saying I get that, but I'm also saying like, Rubio's not going to get elected. I mean, he better start doing something. I'm not ruling him out fully. Okay, I agree with you.
I mean, the stuff that he said, his testimony in the Senate has been great. The stuff he's saying when the cameras are on him is great. It seems like he's doing the correct stuff behind the scenes. I just don't know what I don't know. It seems like actually JD Vance is taking a back seat to Rubio lately.
Yeah, JD Vance has been memed to hell. I don't know if he'll ever be able to run for president after. I don't even see pictures of actual JD Vance online
It's all the
anymore.
fat pictures.
It's all the fat pictures. He's done for.
I don't know. I don't know
He,
that. I don't know that Twitter and all of that is the end of the world for people. I mean,
it will be soon, Mark.
I
And
guess,
it will be way faster than what you think. We have turned into a meme society.
I think you're missing.
Well, I don't know about meme society, but I do know short attention span society because
it's
I went
basically
through
the
it.
same thing.
I just started watching like shorts a year or two ago, and now I look at a video that's 7 minutes and say, "Well, wait a second, I've got a 58-second video over here. What the hell am I going to spend 7 minutes for?"
The thing is, I don't think the memes have hurt JD Vance in the least. That's how Trump got elected. The same type of memes. No,
bro.
Yes.
Not those.
No.
JD
Where I don't know where you were, but yeah, I'm telling you the fact that it helped Ted Cruz.
He also
Ted Cruz and the Zodiac Killer stuff is why Ted Cruz is where Ted Cruz is. I do agree with you. The memes have an impact. I will also say this when you're saying that Rubio wouldn't have had a shot. Rubio had the best shot and Trump knocked him out of it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I
He
completely
had
agree
the best
with
shot. He was the one. He would have been running had Trump lost the primary in 2016,
Agreed.
and probably would have done quite well. Here's the thing.
Also agreed. I would
a
have
lot
probably
of
voted for him.
a significant amount of people that have disliked Rubio have disliked him because of what Trump did to him in 2016.
Yeah, I mean,
I am seeing
him.
those people be his biggest cheerleaders now.
Yeah, I fell off
if
of
you
Rubio.
if this was
after
if this was
research.
2 months ago, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Right now, I think he is the best placed to be the next Republican nominee.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that, right? Like out of everybody, right? He's probably the best person that would run, that we could run at this point. And I think I said that actually a couple months ago when I was having this conversation with someone else right after the inauguration, and I was like, it's probably going to be Rubio. I don't think DeSantis is going to make it. I think it's too far from.
No, he's done.
He's done for, yeah. But Rubio is probably the next person. But if you look into Rubio, Jim was literally just saying it in front of the camera. The guy does what's right. He is poised to be a politician, but in the background, the guy's an establishment figurehead.
He has improved so much since that time when he gave the rebuttal to Obama when he was drinking the water.
Yeah,
he's a completely different person now.
Here's the thing. People there was a significant amount of Trump support in 2016 and in 2020 and 2024.
Yeah.
Were anti-Rubio simply because he was going up against Trump. And Rubio has a pretty good track record. Now the assumption is because he was part of the Senate and it's all a big uniparty, blah blah blah. Here's the thing. This is the first time he's been in a situation where he could, side with them or side with the populace that voted for him.
Yeah.
And he's not siding with them.
All I'm saying is if it was today, if the primary was today, and it was between JD Vance and Rubio, I honestly don't know which one I would pick.
I would go probably. Ooh, fuck yeah!
I'm just saying today, right now, as we say.
Right.
I don't know which one I would pick.
I like JD
Vance
more.
I'd go Vance.
I like JD Vance. I like JD Vance more. Which one do I think is more electable? Rubio.
Well, because of the changing demographics in the country, yes, Rubio would probably be more electable in the country.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But I
could see
like Vance more.
I could see a Vance Rubio ticket in 2028. Rubio's still young. I think he's younger than me.
Yeah, but that's not saying much.
Well, who isn't?
Oh. I'm sorry, Jim.
I mean, I can
I
clearly.
didn't take part
I'm
in that,
allowed.
Jim.
I'm allowed to say it to the entire panel. Actually,
I'm the oldest one of you fucks here.
Yeah, I'm a literal baby compared to you dinosaurs.
You are curtain climb an ankle biter over here.
But no, like I think that I don't at this point. I don't think Vance has a shot. He's really got it. The reason you were talking about the memes.
I think you're insane. I think the memes have elevated him to the level.
You're talking about the memes with Trump, but that was because 4chan was making those memes and pushing Trump. In 2016, if it wasn't for 4chan and people like that, he would have never got elected.
I agree. What I'm saying is, I've seen people come around because of the memes. They love Vance now.
Ooh, what do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I just haven't seen that.
Nicole thinks the mainstream media is focusing on Rubio more than Vance because he's always been a little shifty. I don't know the right word, but the left really
That's a very
him.
good. Yeah, no, he's an establishment guy. It's just that simple. That's the
I
way
don't think
he's always been.
the thing is that is definitely what the Trump campaign tried to push toward him. And like I said, I felt that way when he got named. I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. And remember, the Senate voted for him, 99 to 0, right?
Yeah.
He didn't have anybody vote against him for confirmation, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So, because, they watch out for their own. And
because he had, but then, he's already, people saying they regret voting for him, but who knows if that's true or not. I don't know.
Well, I mean, but the thing is, that's where the shiftiness comes from. Nothing he did. It was because he was in the Senate and had been in the Senate for a while. And therefore, if they're in the Senate, we don't trust them. You know, there's that huge faction that's kick them all out every election. They don't vote that way, but they say that.
Yeah, I
that,
totally agree, Trumpinator. Rubio is working for Trump, and it seems like he's doing exactly what Trump wants him to do.
Right.
Yeah, if he
Well, and their
continues down
policies
that
have
road
always
and
been
like
fairly close.
if he continues down that road and builds more trust, then yeah, sure, I would probably vote for Rubio. I mean, I'm gonna vote for a Republican either way, because even if
You're
they
not gonna
fuck us,
vote for
they're
Gavin
doing it.
Newsom?
No, sir. Even if they fuck us, they're going to do it a little bit softer.
It's going to
than
be
the
Bashir, by
Democrats.
the way.
they're gonna
It's going to be
at
Andy
least.
Bashir. Right. It's going to be Andy Bashir is who the DNC is going to run.
Yeah, I don't think.
No, I think Gavin Newsom is going to be. They're
No,
going to
no.
try
Angling
hard.
They're going to try.
They're
They're going to try Newsom.
Oh,
but
yeah,
they're
but
not
he
going to be able
can't.
to get him through. They're
Yeah,
not going to be able to get him through. And
So
Bashir
what you're
is going to be
saying,
the.
though, it's Andy Bashir. So you're saying that it's going to be another attempt at the Democrats to elect a president who will lose his home state.
Yes.
Bashir won't
Yes.
lose Kentucky.
Oh, he will for
I
president.
think
Yes, he will.
Yeah, for president, he will.
The
I don't
only
know.
I'm gonna break some news here. The only reason he won election the last time for governor is because Kentucky is still a very racist state, and he was running against a black man.
Well, it didn't help that Trump told people not to support the guy he was running against. And you got to remember, he's royalty in Kentucky.
Like second.
He's
cousins
governor
to the
because his
first.
daddy was governor.
I think for some reason in my gut, and this is just completely anecdotal, I think Newsom is still a little too underbaked, and they probably want to hold off on him a little bit. I've got a feeling in my heart of hearts that eventually Newsom will be president, though. Sadly, I've just got that weird fucking feeling, and it's going to
You
be
mean Pelosi?
yeah, Pelosi, Pelosi's figurehead. And Pelosi's still alive by then.
No, I mean he is Pelosi's nephew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
Most
But-
people don't because they like to change their last names.
Now, I follow politics pretty heavily when it's political season. I haven't been following them since the inauguration because I just need a fucking break, and that's why I've been coming back on gym shows to sort of dip my toes into the
reason
fucking
I say,
nightmarish waters.
The reason I say it's not going to be Newsom is Newsom has 20 years of clips to go against him in the ads. The reason I think it will be Bashir is number one, Bashir has been positioning himself for that run very quietly.
Yeah.
He is term limited, and I think that they will think he has the crossover appeal.
Possibly, I'm not sure. In my opinion, I think
he's
he'll probably run Bashir, but I see it for
Oh
different.
no, I'm saying I don't think that the DNC proper is going to want Bashir.
Yeah, I don't think Bashir has.
They didn't want Obama,
political, but I don't think Bashir has the political heft or the draw to pull him across the line like Obama. Obama forced his way in.
Well, I mean, it also depends.
I think
on who
he's
we
good.
put
I
up
think
to.
he's smart enough to. People are leaving the Democrat Party in droves because they've been letting the crazies run things. And
You think they're going to learn from their mistakes?
no, I don't think they are. I think they're not going to be able to deal with the voting.
This is another one right here that you got to really. Pritzker from Illinois is another one that's got the money and the political capital.
Is he going to survive that long before he has a heart attack?
Yeah, but Pritzker's not even on
Self-powers.
my list. But yeah,
If
possibly.
it wasn't for Chicago, Pritzker wouldn't be winning Illinois.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think it all depends on who we run, because I don't think they want to burn Gavin Newsom. And yeah, I get he's got a shit ton of clips he's got to overcome, but that motherfucker is a charming bastard. And dude, he's just he will one day.
He's so
be president.
charming that they had to make Larry Elder the black face of white supremacy to keep from kicking him out of office, and barely did it by the skin of their teeth.
I've got a feeling in my gut, man. He'll be president one day. I hate it, but every time I see
They
it,
don't fix elections, maybe.
Yeah, but hey, look at what happened with North Carolina with that governor's race with the the Mark Robinson, who I don't know, somehow somebody found out that he had a account on some porn site and that sank him. I mean, come on.
Well,
Yeah.
part of what sank him also is, again, that was another one where the National
establishment,
Party,
right? The establishment Republicans,
National
who are
Party.
the Studi people, are still kind of racist, I guess.
I agree with you, Sheila. Put Vance against anybody or any Democrat right now in a debate, and he will eat them alive. He's great.
Mhm.
I just Vance is at this point, and he can pull
Did
out of
you
it.
see? Did you
He's
watch
been
the
memed to death
debate?
at this moment.
Did you watch the debate with DeSantis and Newsom?
No,
I think I caught
I
some
didn't.
of it.
I don't think I did. I don't remember.
I highly
anyway.
recommend you record yourself saying what you just said, that you're
Mhm.
convinced he'll be president one day.
Yeah.
Watch that debate and then play that back to yourself 5 minutes later.
I mean,
He
dude,
won't be president.
I just got this feeling. That's all I'm saying. I'm not.
I felt the same.
All right, I'm going to grab the
agreed with
steering
you
wheel,
before
guys,
seeing
and
that.
I'm going to steer us back onto subject.
What do you
here,
think? This is
okay?
your show?
Yeah. What are you doing? You invited me on here for a reason.
Yeah, but I'd like to at least try to get through a couple topics here.
Nah. Why do that?
This is supposed to be like a news show.
I apologize, Jim. This is your show.
No, it's
Breaking
fine.
news.
It's
I'm not
really,
like.
See,
I'm not
isn't
uncapped,
this,
and I don't.
this-
I'm not apologizing.
I know, but this is not a breaking news show. This is the Sunday show. Is the week in review of the, like the news of the week. So I go stories that I didn't get to cover or that I missed or that weren't covered other places. I try to pull them in here so that people, if they maybe missed them, they can get them. But I don't know.
Let's get him.
Okay,
Let's get him. We're almost at 2 hours. Let's go.
Yeah. So this is about the national injunction crisis. Has to do still with Rubio, because Rubio's been out in front fighting against these injunctions, basically for Trump. It's like Washington did not freeze at Valley Forge, nor did Lincoln bleed the Union at Gettysburg. So that 2.5 centuries later, federal judges could rewrite. Hold on. I'm sorry. I did that all wrong. We're gonna cut this out and post, guys. Don't worry about it. So Washington did not freeze at Valley Forge, nor did Lincoln bleed at the Union at Gettysburg. So that 2.5 centuries later, federal judges could rewrite American foreign policy from a bench in Boston. But here we are, unelected district court judges issuing orders with global repercussions, shackling the executive branch, endangering diplomacy, and destabilizing entire regions. Is that better?
Yeah. You go.
You tell him.
Yeah. The case of DVD versus DHS. Every time I see this, I'm thinking of DVDs. I'm like,
versus VHS.
VHS. The case of DVDs versus VHS is in the court of public opinion. No. Now immortalized in Secretary of State Rubio's sworn declarations, the most vivid and alarming example yet. A single judge, Brian E. Murphy, despicable Brian E. Murphy, who's
The dishonorable
Brian E. Murphy has upended delicate international arrangements, disrupted military coordination in a counterterrorism hotspot, and jeopardized humanitarian efforts across the Horn of Africa, all with a flourish of his gavel. This is not justice.
I had the Law
It's
and Order
judicial
stuff.
imperialism. And if it's not stopped, it will unravel the fabric of the constitutional government. Let's begin with the basics here. The Constitution vests foreign policy and authority in the executive branch. Article 2 is unambiguous. The president shall receive ambassadors and other public ministers, and with the advice and consent of the Senate, make treaties. In practice, the president, through the Secretary of State, negotiates with foreign powers and calibrates the tone and tenor of our international presence and oversees the strategic deployment of both soft power and military muscle.
Yep.
The judiciary, by contrast, was never intended to function as a foreign policy apparatus. The Federalist Papers make this clear. As Alexander Hamilton wrote in Federalist number 78, the judiciary has no influence over either the sword or the purse. It's the power, may truly be said to be neither force nor will, but merely judgment. Yet what we see today is the inverse, the judiciary with the will of the legislature and the force of the executive. Consider the chaos that Judge Murphy has sown. Secretary Rubio's declaration outlines how Judge's May 20th injunction halted the removal of 8 foreign nationals, including convicted felons, murderers, rapists, people who did stuff to children, gross, people who should never be in this country. Rerouting them to Djibouti instead of South Sudan. This wasn't a harmless detour. It required U.S. diplomats to scramble and re-explain our shifting commitments to a key regional partner, delayed counterterrorism operations and headquartered at the Combined Joint Terror Task Force in the Horn of Africa, chilled humanitarian coordinations efforts in the famine-stricken zones, and even postponed a major energy deal in Libya. That energy deal in Libya, coming back to that, makes me suspect. But it costs American enterprise that are reducing leverage in our country, even teetering on a civil war.
In a country
Hmm.
already teetering on a civil war.
Yep.
Yeah, is they say in our country or they're talking to Libya?
No, it says it's talking about Libya. Costing American enterprise and reducing our leverage in a country already teetering on civil war.
Makes you question, what gives one man sitting in a courthouse in the East Coast authority to rewrite U.S. policy in Tripoli, Juba, or Djibouti? What constitutional principles justify such reach? None. But the vehicle of this judicial arrogance is a nationwide injunction, a tool so radical, so constitutionally suspect, and so corrosive to the governance that even liberal legal scholars have begun to question its proliferation. Justice Clarence Thomas, prescient as ever, warned in Trump v. Hawaii of 2018 that nationwide injunctions have a tendency to encourage foreign shopping. You know, that's when they go around and they pick a judge that they know is going to do what they want, where a judge that they can call in the middle of the night and tell them, hey, we're going to do this and we want your help. You know, a judge like Boasberg. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It politicizes the judiciary and deprives other courts of the ability to weigh in on a legal question. Indeed, one sympathetic judge can block an executive action across all 50 states. Then the presidency is no longer unitary, it's hostage. It's this theory that they think the judges, any single judge, no matter where they are in the country, has the same power, equal to or greater than the president, the only person in our system of government that's elected by the entire populace, by the whole country comes together to elect a president. Not always is the president elected by a mass majority of the people, but it's still the only person who stands for election by the whole country. No one else is. Foreign leaders are not engaging with the United States government, but with whichever district judge issued its last ruling. Our diplomacy becomes erratic, our word less reliable, and our authority diluted. Wow, this guy speaks great.
Think about it. One judge, but somehow we have to have a majority of judges at the highest court.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? That one judge, it seems like one judge has more power than the Supreme Court, but technically the Supreme Court would have more power if they actually exercise their power. Like actually a single Supreme Court justice could stop any of this when it comes to them. They don't have to refer it to the court. They can just go,
well, that's
nope.
why they're picking, they're doing the forum shopping, so that's Sotomayor and
Jackson. But they're doing it in D.C. too, which D.C. is Justice Roberts. Well, actually, I think didn't Roberts actually do one himself? He did put a stay on something himself.
Yeah, for like a week.
Yeah, and then he gave it back. It was Alien Enemies. Washington, D.C. is Justice Robert Sheila. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Washington State, Oregon, and California are all Sotomayor. Because she's got, or is it Kagan? Who's got the Ninth Circuit, Kagan or Sotomayor?
Let me find out.
Maybe it's Kagan. I'm not sure. But
yeah, Jamie,
this distortion of power is not theoretical. It's real and it's reoccurring. Remember when a district court blocked President Trump's ban on travel from terrorism-prone countries in 2017? That nationwide injunction issued by Judge James Robart in Washington not only overruled the president's national security judgment, but also forced foreign governments to reevaluate their cooperation with the U.S. intelligence community. Uncertain if courts or the White House were truly in charge. You know, I mean, that's the truth. These other countries, they look at us and they go, they don't understand it. They go, what's going on? How is it, who's actually running your country?
Kagan is 6th Circuit and 9th Circuit. So that's Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, Tennessee, Alaska, Arizona, California, Hawaii, Idaho, Montana, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, Guam, and the Northern Mariana Islands.
You know, the incentive structure is equally perverse. Activist groups now scour the country for friendly judges, ideological allies with a record of lawfare activism, then file lawsuits not to win narrow relief for plaintiffs, but to engineer sweeping political victories that Congress never authorized and voters never endorsed. These are not lawsuits. These are stealth coups. You know, this never happens when it's something that we would, that would be actually following the Constitution. Like, you don't see courts putting nationwide injunctions for Second Amendment violations. No. You don't. You know, or for free speech violations, or for Fifth Amendment violations, anything that that affects the people. It's always tiny groups, and in actuality, the vast majority of all these rulings have been for people that aren't even citizens of the United States. Been for illegal aliens. One need not be a strict textualist to grasp the danger here. Imagine if a single judge could halt a military deployment, override a treaty, or block the Secretary of State from evacuating embassy personnel. I mean, it's not too far-fetched to think that this could happen with what they're
They've already
doing.
ordered military planes to be turned around midair.
Yeah. Could a judge tell, like, if something happened and there was an attack and they were going to deploy troops or do something, could a judge actually step in and say no? Would, put an injunction and say, oh no, you can't do this, and people would die, and then, what's Trump supposed to do at that point? Wait for the Supreme Court to get off their fat asses and actually do their job?
I mean, currently that is where we are.
No.
They just haven't done that particular one because the opportunity hasn't arisen. Trust me, they will, should that opportunity arise.
I'm pretty sure that Amy Coney Barrett was put forward by Mitch McConnell, which is all the proof. Mitch, if you've noticed, Mitch McConnell has voted against almost every one of Trump nominees. I think the only nominee Mitch McConnell supported was Rubio. He's voted against almost every other one. Tulsi.
Yes, he voted against every
did he vote against Tulsi too? Maybe he voted
Yes.
for. He voted against Hegseth. He voted against Kash Patel. He voted against RFK. Okay, I'm going to address this real quick. Sheila Marie, yes. I too watch Robert Gouveia. I think he's a great source of information. He's excellent at the job. I think his talents are wasted on YouTube. He should probably have a show on Newsmax or One American News or even Fox News or something like that. He is a broadcaster. He's not just a lawyer that reads stuff on the internet.
He probably makes more money though on YouTube.
Probably.
Voted,
I'm just saying he's excellent, and I would never in my wildest dreams could I ever
let me ask you this. You're a fan of what's his name? Oh god, the guy from the radio.
Oh, Cumia?
Cumia. You're a fan of Cumia, right?
Yeah.
And he's making a crap ton of money now. But if he never had to like censor himself or whatever and would have been able to do compound on YouTube like he was doing, for example, do you think at this point he would be doing the morning radio show? Or do you think he'd be making a crap ton more money doing what he wants on YouTube?
No.
He can't do what he wants on YouTube. He's
I'm saying
barely
if he was able to.
He's back on the radio as a victory lap.
I know that. I get that.
That's the reason. It wasn't the money. That's not why
he doesn't need the money. He's got like $20 million in the bank. He doesn't need the money.
He's making a crap ton of money off the radio show, though.
He's making $150,000 a year.
I guarantee that had zero to do with his decision.
No, for one show a week on Sundays for 3 hours. Actually, that was for 2 hours. When it went to 3 hours, I'm sure they had to increase the amount of money. And then when the syndication happened, they had to give him more money, I would imagine. And he's doing other shows. He's filling in for people. This whole week, he's going to be doing Bill O'Reilly's show. So he's on his way back to actually being mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like he's doing it.
Hold on, Jim. How long have you been listening to Cumia?
Since he was on O&A. When I was working, I used to listen to him on O&A.
I mean, you just said something that was kind of like.
And Bill O'Reilly hates his guts. That's the funny thing. Like, hated his guts back in the day. Called him all types of names. So.
Yes. That's just wow.
So let's get back. So we're sliding into precisely that paradigm. The judiciary, far from checking the executive, is usurping its powers outright. And see, that's another thing too. Like, I heard Justice Roberts say that it was the Supreme Court's job, or the judiciary's job, to check the legislature and the executive. That's not their job.
Which portion of Article 3 gives them that power?
Yeah, and
they gave it to themselves.
Yeah, their job is to ensure that basically they gave themselves the responsibility of saying what's constitutional with Marbury v. Madison. But as far as everything else, they were just supposed to decide controversies before them. That's it. Decide controversies before them following the Constitution. That's their job.
Right. And how can a district court issue a national TRO because
for people that's not in front of them? That's the whole thing.
They're
I
not
think
in
that's
front of
going to
them.
probably come down. Roberts became Chief Justice because of George W. Bush.
Yep.
I mean, here, let's do a little history lesson here for people that maybe they don't understand or don't comprehend. Is the United States was founded by people who fled England, okay, were fled the government of England. They were here in the United States, living in the colonies, and it became abusive, and they overthrew the English. But they knew very well how the English system worked, how the parliament system worked, and a monarch worked, because they had a king, queen, whatever in England, and there was a parliament. They did not like that system. They did not want that system. They didn't, because the parliament basically decided everything. They didn't want a monarchy because they didn't want a king that decided everything, that was able to decide controversies and stuff, that was able to pass laws and sign laws. They now wanted something different. But they knew what a king was, and that's what the executive branch is a king. And then they took specific powers away from the king and gave them to the judiciary and the legislature. So, you know what I mean? That's what it is. Judiciary has their job of deciding disputes, basically, between the parties. And the legislature has the power of the purse and passes the laws, but the laws have to be signed by the president unless they get a veto-proof majority. But that's the bottom line. So whenever people say, like, we don't have a king, we don't have a king, we don't have a king, blah, blah, blah. Technically, we have a king for 4 years. His powers are limited by the Constitution. But
right.
The explanation of Article 2 powers is so tiny in the Constitution. It doesn't, like Article 1 and Article 3, it's vast, huge, thousands of pages. Or not thousands, hundreds of pages. Article 2 isn't, because they didn't need to explain what the president's job was, because everybody knew what a king was. Anyway, sorry guys, I didn't mean to do that.
I was just letting you have it, brother. No, you burn it down, man.
Well, wait, before you move on to the next topic, we also don't have this, a democracy, because they were smart enough to know what would happen if we did.
Yeah, a democracy is two wolves and a sheep deciding what to have for dinner. A republic is a well-armed sheep defending its right to not be eaten from the wolves.
We have a republic. We screwed up and went to direct election of senators, and the states lost their representation, and took about 100 years, and we ended up exactly where they said we would end up.
So, this results in, they're saying the usurpation of the executive power, and they're actually usurping a legislative power, because they are basically not following the statutes as they're written. The statutes are very clear when it comes to immigration and immigration law. Immigration decisions about who comes in and not, that power was taken away from the Article 3 courts. It's strictly for the executive and the administrative courts of, immigration courts, INA courts.
We're going to read the Second Amendment as meaning the exact opposite of what it means. Congress shall make no law, but we think that means they can make laws.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're going to interpret that very basic English language that way.
And a point I like to make to people all the time when they try to say, well, no, there's co-equal branches. It's co-equal branches. I'm saying, yes, there is 3 co-equal branches: the legislature, the executive, and the Supreme Court, because that's what it says in the Constitution, the one Supreme Court. All the other courts are established by Congress, and their powers come from Congress through statute. They can't be, by definition, equal if they don't exist without Congress saying they exist.
Here's the thing. Congress doesn't even have, and this is where we get back into what we were saying about, that Congress isn't doing their job. We have, supposedly the GOP has all 3 branches of government right now, and they're saying we can't impeach these judges that are clearly usurping their power.
They could impeach them in the House. They could get them impeached in the House and get them to the Senate.
You don't even have to impeach them.
Well, there is a theory. You could strip their funding. There's also a theory that they could just say, you know what, that district court doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
We're abolishing it. The question would be whether or not you could say that they're not. There is language about serving during good behavior.
Right.
That's could try to push that and say, well, we're just going to say you're not in good behavior, so we don't have to impeach you because you didn't commit a high crime or misdemeanor. But judges also have that higher level of serving during good behavior.
Right.
So you could try and somehow say, well, they're not serving good behavior, so we're going to suspend them.
I believe that's a significant reason that Rubio wrote the letter that it was written, is they're going to push for that.
What they could also do, what Congress should do, though, that they're not doing their job, is all these lawsuits about the money that Trump's trying to pull back from, USAID and these different Department of Education.
The executive branch isn't allowed to say, I don't need you to work here anymore. Your office doesn't exist, so you don't have a job now. No, you're not allowed to do that.
Well, there was a ruling this week about the National Labor Relations Board, the Merit Service Board, where Trump had fired the people, and then the judge said, "Oh, you can't fire those people." It says here, but the Supreme Court stepped in and said, "Yes, they can fire."
Yeah,
so that was
3 months later.
Yeah, 3 months later. So, but it just makes sense. I mean, how could you expect the president to have somebody working for him that they don't want? They have the entire executive branch, every agency, every person that works for the executive branch only has power because of the president.
Yeah.
So it's the president's power they're utilizing. If the president doesn't want them to utilize his power, they shouldn't be able to.
In my days as a chairborne ranger, I used to teach people how to handle classified documents. And one of the things that stands out is we had what's called a technical order, and first thing it said is the president is giving you the authority to do these things because he's the only one with the authority.
I think, Karen, I think they've been ignoring that about no member of the legislature. That was written, and I think it's been interpreted as to mean during when they were traveling to and from the to go to the legislature, to go to Congress, so that they couldn't get stopped by some random sheriff somewhere and held up and unable to go vote. I think that's what that's been interpreted to mean. I could be wrong.
You can go to the letters coming out of the Constitutional Congress. That's exactly what
they didn't want people to be able to basically hold hostage legislators and keep things from being, so that things get passed if they didn't have the people there. That Joe Schmo is going to vote against it, so have Bob pick him up and hold him until the vote, so that way
nobody would ever do that sort of thing.
Yeah, nobody would ever do that. But that's the thing. It's like our forefathers, the people who crafted our founding documents, who started this country, they really planned ahead. I mean, they saw things. I mean, they didn't see everything. There's things they didn't see. They didn't see what's happening right now with these judges, because if they did, they would have probably had something in there that said, that I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing. They did have something in here. Congress is just refusing to do it.
But see, that's another thing too. Is the Congress could, if they really wanted to, Congress could they could do rescission bills.
Mm-hmm.
What do you
we lose, Jim?
No, hold on. You're not SB Farmer. You're not muted. What's wrong?
Yeah, you're not muted, brother.
Yeah, we see you.
Yeah, I see you perfectly fine. Let me look on YouTube, because it may come through on StreamYard, but it's not coming through on YouTube. Give me a second. Let me go look. Since I'm a moderator.
Okay. Well, say no. The courts don't derive from SCOTUS. They derive from Congress. SCOTUS only has appellate basically the same authority as the lower courts do, due to the All Writs Act, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I watch a lot of law stuff, and I I'm always open to learn things, but
Article 3, Section 1, the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish.
Right, that's the judicial power, but what I'm saying is the judicial branch of.
Right, but he was saying he didn't see where Congress could make courts. That's why.
They did it. I mean, you could look at the history, if I'm not mistaken.
Right,
there
but
was,
I mean, it's exactly right there. That
Yeah.
and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish.
right. So I mean, we have
the
courts, we have
Constitution
bankruptcy.
explicitly says Congress
Yeah,
determines what courts exist.
Yeah, so you would have like we have bankruptcy courts, we have copyright courts, we have all immigration courts, we have environment court, we have all these courts, and that's all established by statute by Congress. And the same thing with every district court judge, every circuit court is all established by Congress by statute. But back to what I was saying about the Supreme Court, they are a co-equal branch of the government, the Supreme Court. It's not the lower courts. It clearly says in the Constitution, inferior courts, which means less, not equal. So none of those courts established by Congress could be considered equal to the Supreme Court. Anyway, it's usurping its powers outright. The results is paralysis, confusion, and an erosion of the separation of powers upon which our constitutional order depends. The problem is compounded when the judiciary aligns itself with globalist NGOs and open border ideologues. I mean, look at all of the Supreme Court justices who have connections to these NGOs. They're family members, serve on boards, they're making money. And it goes both ways. I'm not saying it's just Democrats. It's the Democratic appointed ones. It's also the Republican appointed ones. I mean, Amy Coney Barrett had to recuse herself from a case about vouchers going to Christian schools just this week in Oklahoma because she served on a board of a Catholic charity. So she decided to recuse herself, probably because she was going to vote against it anyway or something, and to make it a 4-4 even split because Roberts voted with the liberals to say that, oh, no money that comes from tax dollars can ever go to a Catholic school. I mean, I believe if you have your tax dollars, that everyone's paying tax dollars in for the schooling. That's the government the money doesn't come from nowhere. Well, actually, lately it has been. They've just been printing it. But let's get back to the point about the school money. They do kind of wish a lot of money into existence, but the money from the schools it comes from property taxes and other things, and then goes and then covers schooling. So if you decide you want to take your kid to a certain charter school or whatever school, you should be able to use that money that's going for you paid in for your schooling should be able to be used or whatever the allocation is. In DVD, the class members whose deportations were halted included not just migrants with questionable asylum claims, but convicted criminals, murderers. By granting them judicial sanctuary, the court effectively overrides the State Department's security assessments, replacing sovereign discretion with ideological dogma. Is this court prepared to vet these individuals itself? Is Judge Murphy better informed on regional conflicts in the Horn of Africa than the National Security Council? Is this just another example of liberal judge indulging his priors at the expense of the Republic? The stakes are high with the return of President Trump to office and the reshaping of American global posture. The courts must not become a backdoor veto. We are witnessing a transition away from the apologetic diplomacy, right? Apologetic? Of Obama-Biden. Okay, yeah. We are witnessing a transition away from the apologetic diplomacy of the Obama-Biden years toward a policy of strength, reciprocity, and unapologetic national interest. That pivot cannot be
remember
sabotaged.
Obama went on that tour.
Yeah, the apology tour.
And,
went around the world apologizing to everybody because America was bad, which that was gross.
Yes.
What's to be done first? First, the Supreme Court must act on the opportunity already before it. The court has heard oral arguments in a pending case involving birthright citizenship that includes critical questions about the legitimacy and scope of nationwide injunctions. All that remains is a decision. The court should use this case to strike down the practice as inconsistent with Article 3 limitations on judicial power. Such rulings should be confined to the parties before the court, not the entire country. Injunctions should bind defendants only to the extent of necessary to provide relief to the plaintiffs, not reshape excessive executive policy for 330 million Americans. Another thing, is there only 330? I mean, I guess there's 330 million Americans, but how many people are here? If there's, 60 million illegals, then that means there's 400 million people here.
Yeah, and how many of them actually work? How many of them actually are adults?
And this part, I learned Congress should act and a statute should clarify that nationwide injunctions exceed the judicial power under the Constitution. But would they actually follow the statute? They would just ignore it. Like they ignore the other statutes that say they don't have any authority to weigh in. You know, the statute clearly for the Alien Enemies Act clearly states that it's not it's not reviewable by a court. It says it in the statute. They don't care. You know, they're claiming it would restore balance, eliminate foreign shopping. I mean, it was actually, you know what? The Democrats actually had a bill under Biden that they were trying to get passed to make. They wanted, but it was a shitty bill because they wanted to consolidate all the power over any cases concerning the government in D.C. in front of the D.C. circuit. Mm-hmm. They're like, well, if it has to do with the government, it should always, no matter what, it should be in D.C. That's what they were trying to do to avoid forum shopping. But basically, they were just forum shopping to their forum that they wanted, which is D.C.
I mean, the place that in 1984 voted 98% for Mondale?
Yeah. Yeah, that place. Yeah. You know, and then finally, the executive must resist. The State Department and DHS should not preemptively concede to every nationwide injunction as a fait accompli. Where there is ambiguity or statutory discretion, the administration should assert its prerogatives. The president is elected, the judge is not. Accountability matters. History offers little comfort to those who allow unelected tribunals to dictate the terms of sovereignty. Empires have collapsed under the weight of judicial excess. Rome, after all, did not fall to barbarians alone, but to internal legal sclerosis and metastasized bureaucracy. If we do not rein in our course, we will cede our republic to the whims. Let us end this judicial coup before it becomes a permanent regime. That was an excellent article, right?
Hey, I did a good job writing that for a muse.
Yeah.
Yeah, appropriate number of big words and all that. Yeah.
That was.
I didn't see too many M dashes though. Oh wait, there are quite a few.
Yeah, it was an excellent article by Muse. And here's this.
You know, every time you talk about these people that were being deported, you've mentioned all the different crimes, and I just keep thinking that they were rustlers, cutthroats, murderers, bounty hunters, desperados, mugs, pugs, thugs, nitwits, halfwits, dimwits, vipers, snipers, con men, Indian agents, Mexican bandits, muggers, buggerers, bushwhackers, hornswogglers, horse thieves, bull dykes, train robbers, bank robbers.
But is he going to go in for the N-word at the end?
And Methodists.
And Methodists.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, Methodists are the worst out of all of them, right?
That's a given. Come on. Jeez.
Yeah. So here's, just so everyone doesn't accuse me of being only going with right-wing opinions, this is the New Republic. And talking about it says Marco Rubio says no judge has authority over him, an alarming testimony. Trump's Secretary of State made a shocking confession in a testy exchange with Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen. What I will say is he's right. He's absolutely right that no court has authority to tell him what to do when it comes to foreign policy. He's the Secretary of State. That's strictly in his prerogative. There's only one person who can direct the Secretary of State what to do when it comes to foreign policy, and that's the President of the United States.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Bill Gates. Okay.
No.
My bad.
That's it. No. Senator Van Hollen asked Rubio about the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man who just happens to be an MS-13 gang member, who was he wasn't mistakenly deported. They deported him on purpose. It wasn't an accident. Rubio repeated the Trump administration's claims that Abrego Garcia's gang membership and alleged crimes. Well, actually, I'm not going to.
Case of El Salvador.
Let's check this out here. We could watch Rubio lay it down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come, you're going to see who you went to defend.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated
Senator,
comments like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor.
That's very rich coming from a senator who all these motherfuckers do all day long is make unsubstantiated claims from their chairs, and because they're protected by the speech and debate clause, they can get away with slandering and doing shit.
Mm-hmm.
Secretary Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court of the United States because he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? There is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge in the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy. No judge can tell me how I have to outreach to a foreign partner or what I need to say to them. And if I do reach to that foreign partner and talk to them, I have under no obligation to share that with the judiciary branch.
Absolutely correct.
Well, I wanted to see if that senator that said, "Oh no, they do."
No, they don't. That's the thing. That is.
It would have been great though if they did.
So I got a couple more stories. Like I don't know if you guys saw the order. I don't. Did this get? This gets. You guys saw about Trump, the DHS Secretary Noem revoking Harvard's ability to have foreign students come in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then just like on clockwork, a judge came in and said, "Nope, you can't do that," citing no authority whatsoever. Breaking Obama appointee Allison Dale Burroughs enters TRO against Trump administration in Harvard case without a Trump attorney even appearing in the case. So an ex parte TRO, they ran in there and the judge just gave it to them without any government answer at all.
See, part of the issue is they try and pretend, well, it's a temporary restraining order just to give us time to hear them out. It doesn't, it's not affecting anything. But I mean, sure, the case may not get heard for 3 years, but this is temporary.
Yeah.
It's sort of like temporary protected status.
It's temporary until Trump's out of office, is what they mean.
Yep.
What am I doing?
I don't know. What are you doing, Jim?
I'm trying to pull this up. Here we go. So here it is. Allison D. Burroughs, an Obama-appointed judge, has issued an order blocking the Trump administration from revoking Harvard's ability to enroll foreign students. Here was the letter that Kristi Noem sent to Harvard,
telling them. She has the right resting face.
Yeah. Saying that they effective immediately, they're revoking Harvard's student exchange visitor program because it's strictly in the Department of Homeland Security, the ability to issue these visas to come into the country. So now you have judges that are basically demanding that, no, you have to issue visas.
Remember, the buck stops here.
Yeah.
This program is the Secretary of Homeland Security saying, I am granting my authority to this group to do this on my behalf. And a judge is ruling, you can't stop them from doing, you can't stop yourself from doing something.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it. Don't get it. So here's the order, for President and Fellows of Harvard. Order granting plaintiff's motion for a temporary restraining order. For purposes of Federal Rule of Civil Procedure, the President and Fellows of Harvard has made a sufficient showing that it has provided notice to the Department of Health, Homeland Security, all these people listed, Pam Bondi and all them, and that unless a motion for a TRO is granted, it will sustain immediate irreparable injury before there's an opportunity to hear from all the parties. So I don't understand, like the new school year doesn't start until September. So how did they need this right away to get this entered immediately like this without hearing from the parties? It doesn't make sense. For anyone acting in concert or participation with defense are hereby enjoined from. So basically, they're enjoining the entire federal government from implementing, instituting, or maintaining or giving effect to the revocation of the plaintiff's SEVP certification, giving any force or effect to the Homeland Security's May 22nd revocation notice. So ordered. I don't see how this can't get stayed. I really don't. I don't see how
it'll take several weeks.
I don't see how that's allowed to go forward like that.
It won't be, but it'll take several weeks. And how much time is wasted dealing with this that could have been done doing something else?
Do we have any idea how many hundreds of these judges have done this? Because Bronco used to cover these. I think he stopped because it was so many, and he kept saying the same thing. These inferior court judges do not have the authority, and it doesn't matter. They just assume the authority.
Yeah, they just do what the fuck they want, and
Exactly, and nobody's going to tell them no.
yeah, because you've got this weird sort of thing where politicians just don't want to overstep their bounds, right? President doesn't quite like it's and it doesn't even make sense to me because they have that, they have that authority, but it's just like they don't want to rock the boat. And I'm like, please, for the love of God, rock the boat. What are y'all doing?
Right. I thought you were being a little high when you said how many hundred.
No.
90. Well, no. I thought it was I thought it was in the high teens, but no, it's 90 of them.
It's a lot.
I'm just glancing down at the calendar. It's the 26th of May.
Oh, from January 20th.
Yeah.
It's a small amount of time.
Yeah.
90 since he took office.
Is there any executive order that Trump has tried to do that they haven't sued over? Has there been one?
I don't think so.
Probably something really minor.
Probably
but
something like
I haven't been following it like you guys have, but everyone that I hear of,
I'm sure one of the ones giving money away, to a foreign state that there's something like that.
How many more stories we got, Jim? Because I'm gonna have to.
I was just looking real quick. We can wrap it up if you guys want. It's all right. We've gone over 2.5 hours. I mean, it's 1:30, 1:40 in the morning.
I mean, I've been streaming since 4 o'clock this morning.
I realize you've been screaming a long time. But I don't know. There was a couple stories I saw on Twitter that I was thinking about pulling up, but it is the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's passing, so I don't know if we should.
So we need to forget all about Memorial Day and focus on him.
Yes.
Did you notice that?
That was nice.
That's been the push today.
Yeah.
Because a horrible criminal decided to ingest a pharmacy's worth of fentanyl, refused to get into a police car that was air conditioned with nice cushioned seats.
And somebody
placed on the
ground.
put
their knee on not his neck, but on the top of his back.
As trained for multiple years, that would be the safest thing to do to prevent him from dying, and immediately called for an ambulance, and the guy died before the ambulance got there. Totally murder.
I mean, y'all saw Ricado's acknowledgement.
I will say this. I did not see it, but hold on. I will say this. Derek Chauvin, his entire adult life, every election cycle, donated the maximum amount of it allowable to the Democrat candidate. Every election cycle of his adult life, he got what he voted for. I don't care.
Wow, I did not know that. That seems like an irony that should not be lost.
Say from all the information that I've seen, Derek Chauvin wasn't a good person. All right?
No, he wasn't.
That doesn't mean he should go to jail for murdering George Floyd if he didn't murder George Floyd. But as far as other stuff that he did, and they're bringing it up, but I could care less. Supposedly that he didn't pay taxes and he was like a tax cheat or whatever. That's whatever. Everybody cheats on it. Not me. I pay all my taxes, but everyone else usually cheats on their taxes. And
I've never once.
I know Uncap does. He told me. He told me in DMs. I've shared those. Oh
yeah, I pay all of it. That's why I told you.
Yeah.
No,
I pay more than I need to because I care.
Oh.
Anonymous podcast for other patriots. I did not see that. I'll have to look that up. But and then other stuff where he they found out he violated the civil rights of a bunch of people. I guess over the years there was complaints. I don't know. Robert Barnes
against a police officer? That never happens.
Yeah, Robert Barnes has been on a tear. Basically, what do you got here?
Do you want to share Ricado's post in remembrance? Of
if he can make it 5 years, so can I. Well. Hopefully, Ricado won't make it the same way that George did.
Oh, that's funny.
That was absolute gold. I saw it right before the show, and it took me a minute to compose myself before I clicked join stream.
You ain't black.
Man. You look at the top comment. Let me go back and look.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
There was one other thing. Oh, there's a little thing here I wanted to show you guys just to make it feel better. You guys have seen this will be, I don't know, maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll go a few more minutes. You guys have seen the military commercials as of late, the last few years with the My Two Moms and this and that and other stuff. Well, this is our new military commercial.
Women serving overseas, and God bless the United States of America.
That's
That's
cool,
a big
right?
change. That's a big change.
Personality to be jittery. It's part of my charm.
It's yeah, it makes me want to go join the military. What?
It wasn't about the two people. I didn't mean it like that. I just said the videos where it was like
Don't even just leave just leave the comment. We were about to.
Right.
What?
No,
Y'all don't know what's wrong with my avatar.
Oh, that's Drexel. What's up, Drexel?
That's not, hey Jim, you remember? I know Mark does. I know Mark remembers, but you remember back when we were kids.
I love how Drex always brings everybody in, and
Yeah,
he
he
went
does
on
that.
some stream and he couldn't pronounce somebody's name, so he said the name totally wrong. Hey, Joe Bob, you know, Jesus Christ, somebody
You know
tell
what I
him
was
who the
thinking?
guy's
Hey,
names are.
Uncap, you remember back when we were kids? I love that part about Drex.
Yeah,
Hey,
he's
where are
great.
the white women at?
No, that's not Drexel.
That would
that's,
be Drexel. Yes,
George
That's
Ricada
definitely
Floyd.
That
You ain't black.
Yes, I am. I'll show you after the stream. Whenever Jim ends it, I'll show you after the stream. I'm canonically 6'4" and black.
What the hell is even that?
Yes, but are you black down below? That's what people.
No, not at all. No. I am Asian down below. So. Never claimed anything more.
In fact, I'm Cody Jennison. I'm so Asian.
Oh wow! Look at this. This is just big news. Big news. Big news. The judge ruled that August trial of Brian Koberger, the charge with the University of Idaho students' murders, will be live streamed.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
and every law tuber rejoiced.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Actually.
I've heard some stuff that I don't know if it's true or not. That the DNA that they supposedly got didn't really match him.
Yeah, but didn't he leave the knife back?
They're saying that they found a sheath to a knife and it had some DNA on the clasp or whatever, but I'm seeing reports to saying that actually the testing said it wasn't his DNA.
Well, they've got to get him to lick it while he's in prison.
Maybe, just maybe. So let's see here. This is This is a thing called Jim's Twitter. Oh, here we go.
Oh, no.
I love how bravely Jim scrolls
Be
Twitter.
careful. I know.
Some of the estimates, for example, by the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, are wildly inaccurate. They're assuming an historically low growth rate in the economy.
Look how
the
evil
elements
this man
of the
looks.
Oh,
Yes,
This
Doc,
man-
all court proceedings should be live streamed at all times. That way the people can see what's happening. And will I cover it? I'm sure I would gladly go on a law tutor's show to talk and give my opinions. But I don't think I will do I shouldn't say no. I can't
say
see
never.
myself devoting days and days during the day. I have things to do during the day. I have 2 young grandchildren that I spend most of my days with. So I don't see myself spending hours a day live streaming a trial.
Hey Jim, I would
Look,
love
they,
to
stream
Jim, I would
section.
love to see you on like a Ricada stream for like an hour.
Yeah, I
Just
would
one
love to
day.
do that too, or a Joe
That'd be
stream or
great.
something like that. You know,
I would
watching this
do-
trial.
I would do cocaine and live stream it personally. So
Who are you?
I would
Kaden?
never do such a thing.
I would glad that
And my federal agent knows so.
I'll send you the link then.
Let's see here. This is the Speaker of the House talking about how because the Senate are claiming that the bill they sent to the Senate has too much debt in it.
They're not wrong.
They're not wrong. Yeah.
I am amazed that a man with no spine can sit up that straight.
It's crazy,
Yeah, I can't
right?
stand this dude. I can't
Beautiful
even stand
bill.
to
The
look
reason
at
we're
it.
so excited is because it will be jet fuel to the U.S. economy.
Are you
This
sure
is going
he's
to
not
foster
AI
a
generated?
pro-growth economy again, to
I
get
wish.
job creators and entrepreneurs and risk takers moving again, expanding their businesses, adding more jobs. Wages will go up. We'll have more manufacturing in the U.S. because of all the policies that we put into this legislation. It's a long time coming. And remember, not theoretical. We did this before. In the first Trump administration, we brought in the greatest economy in the history of the world, not just the U.S. After just those first 2 years. Because we cut taxes and cut regulations, we're doing it again and on steroids this time.
Man, Paul Ryan looks different wearing glasses.
He does. Paul Ryan looks a lot different. Yeah.
I mean,
As he said.
I can't do steroids, but they can. That's
Yeah.
not cool.
I mean, anyway, I meant to say this, but Congress could at any point in time. It's also falls on the executive branch. Trump should be submitting rescission bills to the Congress. You know, it goes to the House and says, "I don't need this money. Take it back." And it's just a simple, straight up and down vote. It doesn't have to pass any type of 60 votes in the Senate. Whenever they're trying to take the money away, I should definitely look into the unsubscribed podcast coverage of the Buffalo New York School System. I've seen some of that stuff.
It's
I'm
messed
a big
up.
fan of Angry Cops and Donut Operator and them. I would. I'll look into it. I'll see what they're talking. But I think it's still like it's a story that's still unraveling. You know what I mean? And the information's not out there exactly. I mean, Angry Cops.
The information they've got binders of information.
Really?
There's more than enough information for you to make a decision on.
Really? Okay. I'll have to look into it.
Based on
Well,
what they had.
Believe
this
me, I
week.
believe the school's corrupt, and I believe they were covering shit up. I don't doubt that one bit. I mean, they always talk about a lot of people always talk about the church, and the church is probably, the Catholic Church.
I have a
is
feeling
probably-
Angry Cops is going to be retiring soon because he's going
Probably.
to be a wealthy man.
Yeah. But about the Catholic Church and the stuff that they did, the public school system is way worse, way worse, hands down, way worse than the Catholic Church ever was when it comes to that type of stuff. The numbers in like the city of Chicago, their numbers are tens of thousands a year of cases. There's a story, Buffalo school system, they were covering up abuses and stuff on children and other things and bearing other crimes, students committing crimes.
So the vast majority of the times that they've had to get police involved, they have just, Nashville got in trouble for this several years ago. They're cooking the books by saying this is just a informational report instead of a actual crime took place. Nashville got in trouble several years ago because, for example, they were taking this is YouTube. They were reporting grapes as breaking and entering so that the stats would look better than they are. And then when it came out, they found even worse stuff. So, for example, on Friday's show, I believe it was Friday it dropped, one of the examples they have is a child who was literally passed out. They could not wake them up from a drug overdose, and they refused to call an ambulance. They needed to call the mother or the parents first so that they could come to the school and call the parents or call for the ambulance so that the school didn't have it on their books that they're the ones who had to call an ambulance.
I will say, SB Farmer, that when you're saying many more schools and churches, that's actually not true. Generally speaking, a school district, a single school district in most areas, that school district, and it'll have like several, like the district where you'll have a group where you'll have 2 or 3 elementary schools, a high school in a city, a huge area. That area will have 10 to 12 churches with 1 high school and say 3 to 4 elementary schools.
Yeah, there are
That's
a lot
just
of churches.
There's way more churches than people give credit. I mean, they're not huge churches. There's 100 congregants or whatever, 200 congregants in the church. But you got schools that have 1,000 students.
Yeah.
Yeah. The issue is though, if you still really start breaking down the numbers, people love to rag on the Catholic Church because of that scandal, but school employees, it's 101 conviction rate. 101. There's 100, roughly 100 school employees that have been convicted of doing things like that to children for every 1 clergy member.
Right. Plus, in the schools, it's not just the teachers; it's also the janitors, it's also other people,
Right.
volunteers and stuff. So, I mean, it's not just the. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming. We had a great show tonight. I think we got up to almost 80 concurrent viewers at one point. That was fantastic.
Nice.
Wow, we almost had an audience.
We almost
had an audience.
I mean, I know.
But
I
Cynic
set that
came
bar.
in, and that Jesus Christ, Cynic, jeez,
Dude, I can't help it, man. I bring
poor
the fun.
Jim.
Okie doke.
God, I haven't seen one of those solar flare reports in like ages. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we've all died.
No, I
somewhere.
haven't filed. I haven't filed.
I am the great Cornholio.
Oh no.
Oh no.
All right, stick around for a second,
Jim's getting
guys.
tired.
Yep.
Thank you.